We're missing a board member at the time, so we're just going to give them a few more minutes before we start.
Now I feel weird. Get my phone away.
You gave your phone away?
I'm naked. Something's wrong.
We're good.
Somebody tugged.
Thumbs up.
Okay, we're going to do this again. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Today is Thursday, March 2025. The time is now 6:12 p.m., and this meeting of the Boynton Beach Community Redevelopment Agency is now called to order. Let me remind everyone of our rules and civility and decorum. Speakers must first be recognized by the chair and may not interrupt any other speakers. Public comments must be addressed to the board as a whole and not any particular individual on the dais or the audience. Let's proceed to the invocation led by Board Member Kelly, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Board Member Cruz. Let's all stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. Please join me for the invocation. As we gather this evening to discuss matters that impact our community, let us take a moment to pause and reflect. We ask for wisdom in our deliberations that we may make decisions that reflect fairness, compassion, and a commitment to the greater good of all of our residents. Grant us the vision to serve our community with integrity and to work together in a spirit of cooperation. May we be guided by the values of justice, respect, and responsibility as we carry out our duties, and may our actions promote peace and prosperity for the future of our city. We offer this time of reflection in the spirit of unity and service to our community. Amen. Of the United States of America, and to the
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Let me turn to our Deputy City Clerk, Tammy. If you could please begin the roll call.
Board Member Kelly,
Here.
Board Member Turkin,
Present.
Board Member Cruz,
Here.
Vice Chair Hay, not here. Chair Shelton,
Present.
Chair, you have a quorum.
We are now moving on to additions, deletions, corrections to the agenda. Would any of the board members like to make additions, deletions, corrections to the agenda as published?
Yeah, I'd like to postpone the agenda item regarding Hurricane Alley. Table that for the next meeting, or do a special meeting concerning that.
Board Chair, respectfully, if you would entertain the motion to table at the time it's presented on the agenda, that would be correct. Thank you. Mr. Turkin, is that acceptable?
Fine by me?
Thank you. Madam Chair, I have an additional correction to your agenda, if you'll entertain it. One of the grant applicants has entered a DBA change to their name, so Boynton Beach Dentistry should be changed to AJF Dental LLC for purposes of the packet and adoption.
Now do we just go on to? Do we just go into here?
Chair, during this, we can also, we have items under 16. And normally, if there's any items under 16 that the board would like to hear, it's usually updates or to social media or development. We ask so that staff, for the benefit of the staff, they don't have to stick around if we don't want to hear about it. So just so you know, but I do want to get a brief update. Tim, I know that we have on consent several Heart of Boynton shops. And so I would like to kind of just get an update, since a lot of those are on consent, as far as the status of that, so we can hear it either at 16A, which is fine, unless you feel like it would be more appropriate at a different time, but otherwise, I think that that's probably, or under 8A, I guess we could hear it under 8A too.
Well, either way, 16A, we have an item prepared to talk about all of them, and this is status. I'm not sure if we have any present that may want to speak on behalf, but they could speak during public comment.
Correct. So maybe, so we can hear 16A, kind of an update on all of the Heart of Boynton under 8A at the same time. Okay, perfect, thank you.
So removing this.
The, I do want to add to a future agenda, and I'm open to the date based on board recommendation. but it would be potentially, if the CRA does end up sunsetting, can we have a discussion before that happens with regard to the Andrews House and the Magnuson House? And seeing if we could have the CRA take the lead on that, kind of going forward.
Madam Chair, I apologize. I need to correct myself. The change was for AJF Dental. Their new DBA is Boynton Beach Dentistry, so I apologize. I flipped.
You're over there. You're over here. Chair, Vice Chair. So, so I did mine, so if Commissioner Cruz, or Board Chair Cruz added something to the, or Board Member Cruz added something, so now you can just double check with Vice Chair.
Do you have anything that you want to add?
No. Nothing.
Also, Board Chair, typically with 16A, or excuse me, items 16B and C that we haven't talked about, I'd just like to see if there was any of those specifically that the board would like to hear tonight, and if not, for the benefit of the staff's time.
Yeah, no, thank you. I pulled the one that I wanted to hear about, so.
I agree with the remainder of the
Perfect,
board.
thank you.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Commissioner Hay?
Agreed.
We have a motion to approve. All those in favor of the agenda as presented, say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Now let's turn to legal counsel. Are there any updates?
Good evening, Board. Catherine Rossmo with Lewis, Longman, and Walker, and I do have some updates for you tonight. Before you on the dais, as well as with the clerk, is a copy of a current bill that is traveling through the legislature. This bill, you may have heard of it, it's House Bill 991, would severely impact the function of CRAs, and this CRA, if it's passed in its current form, it's being referred to as the death knell for CRAs, or the Wind Up Your Affairs bill. So we wanted to bring it to your attention. You may remember, for those of you who've been sitting up here a while, there was a CRA bill a couple of years ago that changed how CRAs function. This is not like that. This is fairly much a termination of CRA's effectiveness after October 1st. Some parts of the proposed legislation would have no effect on the CRA. There are changes to a required termination date for CRA. The CRA will sunset and is not available to extend past that, so that part does not affect us. There is a portion of this bill that would prohibit the creation of new CRAs. We are obviously here tonight, so that does not affect us. But the portion of the bill that would affect us is it would prohibit the CRA from undertaking any new projects after October 1st of this year. It would also prevent us from undertaking any new bonds, which we don't typically do. But it would be an extremely significant impact on the way this CRA operates if it were to pass. So I wanted to bring this to your attention, one, so that you're aware of it, and two, so that I could seek direction as your legal counsel as to how you'd like for us to proceed. We could simply monitor the bill as it exists, and I can report back to you next month. We can opt to send letters to the appropriate representatives in the Congress, in both houses or either house, if that's your direction. You also have the option to engage a lobbyist. Our firm does have an open legislative matter with you. We do periodically do legislative work for you as the occasion arises. I would need a new contract executed, so if that's the desire, I would need your authority to have Mr. Tack sign the agreement, and that's simply so that our lobbyists can appropriately register, but it would be still under the normal legal services that you review, which is a separate signed contract. And my firm has agreed to do that. It was a very discounted rate for what they normally charge for this, out of respect for our longstanding relationship. So I'm happy to provide you the details on that if you're interested in moving in that direction, and anything else that you guys might like to do. But I did need to bring that to your attention tonight. I'll also just add as a final thought that this is the third week of session, and so if there is something to be done, tonight is the night to opt to do it, and by the next time we meet, it will probably be too late to have any impact. So with that, I would just invite your discussion.
Let's take public comment on this item. Are there any public comments on this?
Susan Oyer, Boynton Beach. I think you should be actively engaging them and take advantage of their lobbying power and see what we can do. I am not the world's biggest fan of CRA, but I certainly don't want to see this go down the toilet in a matter of a couple months where you don't have time to properly prepare and do what needs to be done as a CRA board for the benefit of our city for the long term. I think you need more than just a handful of months. So I think it's definitely worth engaging their firm and their lobbyists to move forward on this. I think you should also actively be discussing this in League of Cities and seeing what you can do as a group, whether it's our county or just a handful of cities that decide to work together, because obviously every city doesn't have a CRA, and it's not applicable in every case. But I would definitely think you all should be, ganging up on this, and this is Palm Beach County with a crap load of money. And I would think that you should be talking it up and see what we can do in all the cities that it applies to. Because this is just unacceptable, the overreach of the governor. And this is yet another example of overreaching. And we all recognize, I think this is a political move to make him look good and/or his wife for future runs. But this hurts our cities to such a great level beyond the live local crap that we're all having to endure. So I think it's time to stand up. And I think engaging them, and they're willing to do it for a discounted fee, and there's no 3-minute clock, so I guess I can talk indefinitely.
Who has the clock?
Wow, that's scary when I'm up here, because I will. But that would be my suggestion, is take advantage of that. Thank you for your time, and it is less than 3 minutes, because I have an internal clock.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Well,
Cindy Falco Di Corrado. I concur in the fact that I'm not a favorite of the CRA because I've seen them hurt too many people with eminent domain, taking properties that should not have been taken from people, actually stealing it, which is illegal. But again, under the CRA, they're allowed to do that. I would like them to finish the projects that are at hand, such as the Andrews House, and to be able to implement that and have the monies and funds for that. So if that's a reason to lobby, I wouldn't take on any new projects. I would finish the ones that you already have. I would look at them seriously and let's get them passed if they're agreed upon amongst the people. But other than that, I think that it needs to, again, that was created to take people's property. I'm sorry, and that, to me, is the worst thing in the world. I know too many people that happened to. They were devastated. They lost their homes. They lost things. So, again, I think that even though lobbying for a little more time, if that's what it takes to get the projects at hand completed, but I think it should come to a stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Flynn Holland, and this is a very big vote, that dropping out the CRA and all the funds that it does for all of our communities would be devastating. My suggestion is, when we find out who the representatives are that we can get a hold of, if we could be on social media, pass it on to the public so the public can then do a letter writing campaign, because the more of us involved in it, the better off we'll be, especially in legislation like this. So, thank you.
Thank you. Public comment is now closed. Would any of my colleagues like to make a motion?
Any online?
for discussion.
Discussion,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would like to, I don't think we need a motion before we have discussion, but, so we do have, the city has a lobbyist who is working very hard on this, as well as some other bills that affect the city. I would consider having an additional lobbyist if we felt like that was kind of the way of, to go. I feel like kind of the more the merrier. I have been staying on top of this bill. It is slowly moving through, but it is moving through. There are both Representative Casello and Representative Caruso have voted against it. It's very much a party bill. It is being voted on and supported by party lines. And so it is very important that that we're reaching out to, like one of the members of the public said, to not only our representatives, but the representatives who are supporting this bill. It started in the House, but it will likely work its way through. It's working its way through the committees. So I know our CRA, our city lobbyist is actively working on this bill and has been in touch with many representatives. But I would, if it's the will of the board to support additional lobbying, I don't think that that hurts in getting, the word out. But, like one of the public members said, it's important that the residents are reaching out to and really expressing how important the CRA is to our community and really changing the future for our city. So those are my thoughts on that, but I want to hear what my colleagues have to say also. Thank you.
Board Member Kelly, thank you for your thoughtful comments. I happen to agree with you 100%. I think that it's important for us to get additional lobbying services, and I wasn't really aware of what our, that if our city lobbyist was working on this, so he's officially working on this bill. Okay. I would definitely support, obviously, that, and then getting additional lobbying support, because we need all hands on deck. We understand, as you mentioned, with party lines involved, we want to make sure that maybe somebody within the same party affiliation can say this is concerning to local governments.
And I too would agree with my colleagues. I feel that we need to do whatever we can because this is that important to us. In addition to doing the lobbyists and everything, I think we should also send letters to try to persuade, or whatever the word that I should be using, the others. Whatever we can do to make this be in our favor, we need to do it. And then I'd like to see a list of, and maybe this could be one-on-one, or I don't know, maybe we just share it, but what do we have in the hopper in terms of the October 1 date? I think I know most of them, but it would be to our advantage to know for sure the impact between now and October 1st, what projects are out there that we need, we will probably make decisions on, that are already out there, and et cetera, et cetera. So we need to just know where we are, so we'll know how to get where we want to go.
Chair, if I may, Catherine, what is the estimated cost of doing additional lobbying through your firm?
Yeah, so unlike, your ordinary legal bills, we bill on an hourly basis. Our lobbying arm works a little bit differently. It is one set fee. In your case, it would be $30,000. However, they agreed to allow payment over a series of 3 months to spread it out. Just for context, in a very similar effort for DDAs last year, my firm represented that effort, very similar effort. The cost was $60,000. Again, just out of respect for the longstanding relationship, they've offered the discount, but it is a block bill. So it cannot be increased beyond that, but it also will not be decreased from that.
So I definitely understand the sentiment from my colleagues on fighting this, but what I don't want to do is use $30,000 for something that may already be a done deal in Tallahassee. As you guys know, anything that goes through the committee and continues to grow legs and get strong support is very hard to combat in Tallahassee. And I think $30,000 of taxpayer dollars would go a better way for small businesses. I think we could utilize those funds in other mechanisms versus an uphill battle.
If I may, I hear what you're saying, Board Member Turkin, but in this case, because of the impact, I think that $30,000 is well spent based on the future impact that it will have on our city and what we're doing. So there's been other times when, I would think the way you're thinking now, but in this particular case, and based on what we have on the table, I think that's $30,000 well spent for our future here as a CRA board and the impact that it would have.
I just think this is a tough battle to fight. I definitely want to spend the money, but I just think this has so much support, and this is one of those things that no matter how many municipalities get involved, you see people turning away from the constituencies to go for this bill. I think, I just don't want to waste money, and, I'm not going to support moving forward with this because I see how strong momentum this bill has right now. And I just think we could use those dollars for local businesses.
Yeah, thank you for that feedback, board member. I mean, I didn't realize what the amount was. However, it's a tough one. I know we spend a lot more than that, I believe, and I believe we do spend more than that on the city side for lobbying services. So, I think this is something that we need to fight back on. I think it's something that we need to be able to make local decisions at the local level, and that's definitely being taken away from us. I do have concerns with, if this does end up passing. And again, it's a gamble. We can hire someone to lobby, and as you stated, it could very well go the same way regardless. But there's also a possibility of people finding out about this at the local levels in multiple cities all around the state and really reaching out to their elected officials and saying this is, unacceptable and we will not stand for this. So, I think that the more we can express that, whether it's, at the actual lobbying side and also on the resident side and the grassroots side, I think it's important. So I'll go ahead and support this.
Any other comments?
No, motion to direct legal counsel to engage in the legislative process by
Second,
engaging in lobbying services.
I'll second that motion.
And for clarification, will you allow Mr. Tack to execute the contract on behalf of the board?
And if that's the normal process, either the chair or the, yeah, that's fine.
One question I have, I guess I should have asked it before. The current lobbyist and your efforts, are they joined together, or do you guys collaborate in any way to know what each of you are doing?
I've not spoken with the city lobbyist. However, I can direct our lobbying team to reach out. I do know that our lobbying team is aware of efforts with the FRA, Pompano, and Delray as well. And so he expressed to me when I was talking to him that he would seek to coordinate and have a coordinated attack with it. So I can provide him your lobbyist's name and ask that he do so.
Okay, thank you. That helps. So we have a second.
Yes.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion passes
4-1.
4-1.
Thank you
No.
all. I will report, I will
go
report
ahead.
back next month.
Okay, thank you. The motion passes. Now let's begin informational items and disclosures by board members and CRA staff.
I do not have any informational items with regard to this specific meeting of today.
Board Member Hay?
I do not have any also, but, well, I'll wait till we get to, are we on? Yeah, we are. I would like to say about the First Friday was very interesting. And the crowd was having a good time. Okay, so I think our staff is just doing an outstanding job in those areas and looking forward to many more.
Board Member Kelly, do you have anything to disclose?
No, I do not have any disclosures or informational items. Thank you.
I have no disclosures either. So, we're moving on. Let's move on to the next portion of the agenda, which is public comments.
Madam Chair, if you will allow me to clarify for the record that in this section, the board accepts public comments for items not on the agenda as well as for the consent agenda.
Oh, hold on. We're on informationally. We're on 8A, so we're not in public comments again. Can they give me updates on this?
Yeah, so you can just, you can just read 8A and then Tim will give an update.
On A, the semi-annual progress report for the development agreement with Wells Landing Apartments, LLC, DBA Heart of Boynton Shops. Do you have an update on this?
Yes, good evening, Board. Tim Tack, Acting Executive Director. If you're not familiar, the MLK project is providing 124 affordable multifamily rental units and is currently all leased up. They have been leased up. They're continually operating, as well as making progress towards the build-out for the 8 commercial spaces. We're very excited about that. The items before the board tonight is in accordance with their purchase and development agreement, as well as their TIF agreement. They have provided the obligations as set forth and provided the annual and the semi-annual reports. They have been reviewed by staff and are complete. If you have any questions in regards to that, we'd be happy to go over them. Additionally, I have Bonnie Nicklin, who will be talking about some update on the commercial component as well as the status. That was a part of our projects in progress.
Good evening, Board. Bonnie Nicklin, Grantson Project Manager. So things are moving along with the Heart of Boynton Shops. We're super excited to say that 6 of the 8 units have passed underground permit inspections, and we're working towards starting the concrete pour, hopefully in the next very near future, week or 2 weeks. We have a tentative lease in place for the remaining 2 units. It'll be a primary urgent care. And that is pretty much the general update. We do have 2 of our businesses that are on the shops here tonight under a consent agenda for their grants. We have JB Dental and the law office of Diane Andre. So we're really excited to have them as part of the community, and we'll be celebrating all of their build-outs very soon. Yes.
Question. Units 104 and 107, they'll be using a different contractor.
Correct.
Are we monitoring whether or not they meet whatever standards that we have?
They have provided documentation that they're a licensed general contractor in the state of Florida. They're licensed and insured and able to perform the work. Their obligations are directly to the tenant, so we have no contractual obligation. However, we do have in place the administrative procedure in which funding for those will be dispersed.
Is there a particular reason that you can share why 104 and 107 went that direction?
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Bonnie.
No, go.
Okay. A lot of it has to do with cost. They felt that they could get a better deal through a different contractor. Some of it was timing. They felt that they could get it done faster as well. Obviously, we don't want to be able to control we don't have any control over the tenant. That, again, is their contractual relationship. So they have exercised their right to move forward in that way.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I do have a question. I guess the answer is no, but do we require local hiring when we give out taxpayer dollar grants to local businesses?
There is preference in language, and Catherine might be able to word it better than mine, but there is preference that they use local Palm Beach County contractors. But it is not Boynton Beach restricted, like city limits, it's the county.
Okay. All right. And for the rental assistant one, I was kind of getting ahead of myself because there are different kinds of grants, right? We have the construction grant, and then we have the month-to-month first year reimbursement of half the rent grant. As we approve these grants, and it would be really good for us to really think about opportunities to create local jobs, or as we're creating local jobs, to provide a preference for Boynton Beach residents to get those jobs. So I wonder if there's any, and maybe we can have a discussion at another time, but it's just a thought that I'm having as we're approving these grants of like, what can we do to make sure that we can increase local hiring for our local residents?
All right, great.
If that's something that the board agrees with.
We can certainly, we evaluate our process every year annually, and this is certainly something that we can explore to see if we can, hone in that if it's the will of the board.
If it's the will of the board, yeah.
We do have the developer online if anyone has any questions for him. All built in.
We do have a representative from Centennial Management who, if you do have any questions in regards to the report or the status, you're more than welcome to direct them.
Just one other question of clarity. The timeline for our TIF dollars, is that on schedule? Is everything, any challenges there?
Not at the moment.
Wait, that's not in the.
We do have a TIF agreement in which they're entitled, as soon as they're on the tax roll and they make the reimbursement request in accordance with that agreement, then we'll be looking at that. But that'll come through like our typical payments that we've had requests for, with the DIFA that was on the agenda tonight as well. It will be in that same manner. But they're not there yet, sorry. Go ahead.
And for clarification, the developer is ineligible to receive TIF until we actually receive the funds for it. So there is no danger that we would owe money before we received it for the property.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on
Bonnie.
to 9, announcements and awards. The Boynton Beach Spring Market announcement.
Mercedes Copeland will be introducing this item to go over. We're very excited and try to buy some time when she walks up this way so that it's not uncomfortably quiet in the room. We're very excited and
Good evening. Good evening, Board. I'm Mercedes Coppin, Business Development and Promotions Manager. Oh, need to grab. Vicki, can you go? Okay, thank you. We are very excited, as Tim said, for this year's spring market. This is our business promotional activation that will take place on Saturday, March 29th, from 4 to 9 p.m. right here at Centennial Park and Amphitheater, as well as the surrounding area along Ocean Avenue. This free market will feature 62 vendors, including a diverse selection of food, beverages, artisans, retailers, and professional service providers. 32 of these businesses are based in Boynton Beach, with 10 of them being located in the CRA area. Our attendees are encouraged to visit the information booth during the event to learn about our Boynton Beach Bucks for each of the participating businesses, and also to pick up their award search card. This activity is going to guide them through the event to connect with the participating CRA businesses. They're going to be specifically set up in vibrant, colorful tents, so that they'll be very recognizable during the event. The event will also include live music from 2 high-energy reggae fusion bands. We'll have the Resolvers, as well as Paul Anthony and the Reggae Soldiers online to perform for us all evening. We'll also have family-friendly games, activities, a selfie area, and much more. And I'd also just like to share a brief promo video that we've been circulating, which I think perfectly captures the exciting vibe of this market. Okay, so we are looking forward to next Saturday, the 29th, and we hope to see you all there. Are there any questions that I can answer?
To hackers. They're
Amazing
selling your
video.
passwords,
Great
bank
job.
details, and
Keep it
private
going.
messages
Thank you
to
very
the
much.
highest
Great
bidder.
job, great
McAfee
job.
helps stop them.
Beautiful.
Okay, moving on to the announcement of Government Finance Professionals Week. We have CRA Jabara Jenkins to speak on this.
Good evening, Board. Jabara Jenkins, Accounting and Finance Manager. The Florida Government Finance Officers Association, also known as FGFOA, is sponsoring Government Finance Professionals Week during the week of March 17th to March 21st. During this week, government finance professionals throughout the state of Florida will be acknowledged for their hard work, dedication, and leadership. It is a week-long series of activities aimed at recognizing government finance professionals and the vital services that they provide for local government and the community in which they serve. The Florida Government Finance Officers Association is a professional association founded in 1937 and serves more than 3,300 professionals from state, county, and city government, school districts, colleges, and universities, special districts, and private firms. The FGFOA is dedicated to being a professional resource by providing opportunities throughout education, networking, leadership, and information. This is a wonderful opportunity to showcase the talents of many professionals who are generally not in the public eye. The professional finance officers' knowledge, integrity, and dedication make certain funds entrusted to government are properly budgeted, dispersed, and accounted for. This accountability is a key ingredient to ensure people's faith in government, said by Rip Coven, the FGFOA President and Executive Director of Justice Administrative Commission. So as we come to the end of the week, we are celebrating with all of the finance staff of agencies throughout the state of Florida.
Fantastic.
Excellent. Thank you.
And I believe this is 16 years good that hasn't it been?
Yes, 16 years of clean audits. Yes, that is correct.
That deserves a hand. 16 years of clear audit. Unheard of. Thank you, CRA staff.
Okay, let's move on to the next portion of the agenda, which is public comments. The public comment section of the meeting is for public comments on items on consent agenda or items that are not on the agenda at all. So again, if you're representing a business listed under consent agenda or you're discussing an item that's not on the agenda at all, now would be an appropriate time to come to the podium. You can begin by stating your name for the record. Each person has 3 minutes. After we conclude with those in-persons, we will move to those online.
Hi, Susan Oyer, Boynton Beach. So I think, thank you, first of all, Commissioner Cruz, for discussing the Andrews House. I think, like so many others, I'd love to see that the CRA takes this over in the most expedient manner possible because of what could potentially be happening to the CRAs. And let's make sure funding is properly allocated to get the house, acquire the house, move the house, set the house up next to the Magnuson, and make these two houses economic drivers if possible, picking up an extra parcel next to it, just to make room for any other potential historic homes you might want to consider moving in the future. So that might be something worth contemplating. We really should be looking at how other cities have made economic drivers out of their historic homes, historic buildings, and we should contemplate doing the same and do it in the fastest manner possible, especially if things go south in the next few weeks. I'd also like to say, when you guys are approving things and you're approving projects that personally, I always think they're ugly and hate them because they don't follow planning and development rules. But some of the rules are the heights are supposed to vary, the frontages are supposed to vary, they're supposed to be pretty colors, they're supposed to be beautiful, and we're getting ugly crap rectangular buildings, and this needs to stop. They look hideous, they bring nothing to our city. And I would actually, and I've spoken against Centennial before, and not against them specifically, but against them having a monopoly in the heart of Boynton area. I think they've done an excellent job. If you go look at their project a couple blocks north of my family's house over next to St. John's, that is hands down one of the most beautiful projects in our city. Centennial has done an amazing job. And why? The heights vary a little, the frontages vary, there's lots of trees, and they're beautiful colors. They bring an added benefit to our city. So as you guys are going forward on projects, please look at that. Another thing you should think about is if the CRA gets canceled, what happens to all that money? That's something to consider. And the video was really great, except I noticed it's very monochromatic. Everyone in there's white. I saw one African-American person in the whole video, so maybe we need to be advertising to other communities to get a better representation of our city at these events, or telling our video person to make sure you're including people from all the different communities in our videos. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Cindy Falco Di Corrado, and I do notice a lot of darker shades of beige people there. They're just maybe not being videoed because I go there a lot to the different functions, so it's not a prejudice thing on that perspective. Cindy Falco Di Corrado, I wanted to talk about, we have done charrettes for what this downtown area should look like, spent hours and hours and years, and that got thrown out the door. So I'm looking at, being this was a CRA project, we got nothing but garbage. I live right up the street. I have a historical home. We talked about this being a little cottagey kind of town, a little fishing town with a little bit of old world quaint and charm. We're not getting that anywhere. I see all the new homes that are being built. They have, like Susan was saying, they're all square. They have no character. They do not fit in with the motif of what most of everybody that lived here at that time and came to those meetings agreed upon. As you look at Delray Beach, I can walk down Delray Beach and I can actually breathe. Why? Because they don't have their buildings so high that you can't get the sun to hit your face, that you cannot get the wind breeze on your body. And if we go high, like I've seen, Costa Rica, whatever, the one down there, and other buildings, and they're trying to build a real big building over here, it's suffocating. I live, like I said, just up the street. I get the sea breeze. It's wonderful. I don't want to have to feel like I'm living in New York. I'm born and raised in Miami, Florida. I moved from there because it got ridiculous. And then you go to Fort Lauderdale and on Las Olas Boulevard, they went crazy. It's disgusting. I mean, you think you're in New York, you get on every street, you're hitting a building. I pray to God we don't do that here. Now, I don't understand why, as the city, because it is city's money, even though it's a CRA and they take it from the builders, why there can't be something implemented within the city if the CRA goes down to handle those projects and create a group or a workshop or something like that, that we the people can be a part of it, because we live here. You know, one person cannot dictate, or 4 people, 5 people cannot dictate for the rest of us. We all have our own opinions, and we want to go with the ones that are the majority, because the majority rules. And I think if we don't get a voice in all these things that are happening, it's unconstitutional, it is unfair, and it's not the way a city should be run. If it's going to be all of us together living in this community, then we all have a say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I just want to pass these out. Can I come around, or how do you do that? Oh. Okay. Hi, I'm Allison Bircher, and I'm the founder of Blue Mountain Coffee House in West Palm Beach. I'm here today because I'd like to take the opportunity to basically address my desire to purchase the historic house, the Oscar Magnuson House, and convert that into an upscale coffee house. It should be very quaint. Currently, I'm operating in West Palm since 5 years. I opened in 2020, 2 months prior to COVID. I have been awarded several awards. I was awarded the Emerging Business of the Year in 2023. I got the Congressional Record, several awards that it's not even necessary to go through. But I believe this project would be ideal for the community. It's local business, it's small. The coffee shop will attract a lot of community, everyone in the community, including tourism. Within the coffee shop, we also have chocolate, where we'll make real authentic chocolate from the Caribbean. The Jamaica Blue Mountain Coffee is internationally recognized as one of the world's best coffees. And that's what we're gonna be specializing in. Breakfast, lunch, all day, in a very quaint and beautiful setting, but at the same time, maintaining that historic feel and quaint sphere of that building. I have the purchase price and basically the breakdown of what I would like to present. I don't think I have to go through it now, but the project itself is over $500,000. I have funding that will be backing this project, and I would love to be considered for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mike Fitzpatrick, 175 Southwest 2nd Street. I'm here to talk about the Andrews House. First of all, I'd like to thank Commissioner Cruz, or Board Member Cruz, for her comments previously. And secondly, I'd like to say that while we want to move the Andrews House to the Magnuson House property, having a coffee shop is one of the, at our charrette, was one of the top uses for the Magnuson House we came across in our charrette. So why we believe the Community Redevelopment Agency should take the lead on moving the Andrews House are 5 basic reasons. I sent you an email at 2:11 today. I apologize for the late time, but that's the way some things work out. So I'd just like to go over the points. The first one is the main job of the city is to provide services to the citizens on a daily, weekly, and 24/7 basis. And so when unique commission requests such as moving the Andrews House comes to the city, it requires extra involvement and time from senior level management. And they regard it as, we believe they regard it as an extra burden, which gets low priority. So whereas the second reason to give it to the CRA is because the CRA projects are by nature the handcrafted and unique. So this is a similar project to many past CRA projects, such as redesigning the Boynton docks where a store was bulldozed, filled in sinkholes, reconfigured roads, and put up a new building for the portmaster. Another project, for example, was moving and restoring the historic Jones House, which is now Nicholas Muir's Distinguished Meats. And the number 3, the CRA has to be involved anyway because, like I said previously, CRA property, the Magnuson House lot, is where we'd like it to go. And also, the CRA has put $300,000 in their budget for historic preservation, and I believe it would be less bureaucratic problems if this money was spent on contracts written in-house. And then finally, which is kind of coming up, is the Magnuson House has been a white elephant for the board for many years, and we believe that putting these 2 historic houses together would help create a good urban destination location. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Alexander Forbes. I'm the owner of Boynton Beach Dentistry. I'm in consideration for funding on your agenda. I really just wanted to take a second to give my appreciation. I understand I probably don't have approval just yet, but it is heartening to know that the city is willing to put some money behind some of the local businesses. And since this is my first attempt here at opening my own business, it does give a certain level of comfort. Although I have family supporting me and have put together quite a professional team to help open this business, it has been a long time in the making, and just knowing the city is going to get involved with the process does help, just both financially, obviously, and just mentally, I guess. All right, but thank you, and I don't need any more time than that, just to say thank you. Oh, and a little shout out to Bonnie. She's been amazing in helping, so thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
All for your service. Thank the officers back there for your service. My name is Cindy. I live in Boynton Beach, Leisureville, and I've lived here 32 years. And in the 32 years I've lived here, I have seen tremendous growth. I think we are at the top of the growth right now. We don't need these 8-story apartment buildings. We need to fix the problems in the city first. We need more police officers. We need our streets fixed. We need our sidewalks fixed. No more buildings for right now. Let's fix what's broken, please. Let's do, like she said, We want to keep it a small town. We don't want it to turn into a cement building, 8-story buildings all over the place. That's not what the people of Boynton who have lived here all their lives want. And you all get paid by us, and you all work for us, and you're supposed to do what we want. What is the deal? What's the deal with this town square thing? What the heck, $35 million in tax incentive? Are you serious? Do you know what the city could do for that money? We need to buy housing in the bad neighborhoods where the crimes are. We buy houses and we set up a police, just for the police, the house for the police to be in the bad crime areas, to fight the crime, to stop it. I've seen it grow. I hear every day ambulance, police, sirens going by my house. We need to fix what's broken before we go put. And this vote on, the vote tonight on the town square will show who's really for the city and the people and who's for the builders and the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
How you doing? My name is Nikki King. I'm here on behalf of Deputy Vincent Wilder, ID number 37931, and also in reference to the Department of Justice, Mr. Jack Hitchcock, who is a legislative correspondent, and also Peter Mahiji, who was also a legislative correspondent under the Senator Rick Scott. I'm here because my 3 daughters have been missing for the past 7 years, since ages 6 and 8, and a 3-month-old child, which went missing back in location of West Palm Beach. I already spoke with Fabian Desarales, who is the CPRP within the City of Boynton Beach Recreation and Parks Development, I guess who's the director. I'm here to notify you guys under a mandate, would you please, under Senator Rick Scott, have your officials return my children and utilize the database of NCIC, because no one seems to want to utilize NCIC because my daughters have been missing since ages 6 and 8 and a 3-month-old and a 3-month-old. Again, this is a follow-up with Jack Hitchcock, legislative correspondent, and Peter Mahiji, who is a legislative correspondent in the Department of Justice of Washington, D.C. My name is Nikki King. I am also a general throughout the United States of Washington, D.C. My call sign is KD3 Alpha Kilo Golf. I request that you guys please mandate your orders through all judicial legislators and all judicial branches to return the child upon Senator Rick Scott. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next speaker, please.
Wow, sad news. All right, good evening. My name is Barbara Reedy. First, let me ask you a question. If I wanted to speak on items under 14 and 15, is that public audience going to be allowed later on when you address those on the agenda? Or speak now? Anybody? Yes, speak now?
It depends on the agenda item. Not all items are up for a vote this evening. So if there's an item that for a decision to be made, public comment will be called. If not, then public comment may not be called. So if you are not sure whether your item has a vote or whether you would just like to make sure that your public comment is included, you may go ahead and do it now.
Okay.
With the board's consent, with the board chair's
I
consent.
can do that. That's fine. Thank you very
Procedurally, either
much.
is okay.
I appreciate it. Under item 14C, regarding the tax incremental financing for time equities, I was actually at the meeting when Mr. Singer came to town and told us all that they have a $6 billion wallet behind them and they weren't even going to need tax incrementing financing. And now here they are seeking $35 million, the payments for which would run until 2078, which is 34 years beyond when the CRA will sunset. So you might want to consider whether those payments for 34 years are something that the city budget can absorb. Under 15C, discussion about the Magnuson House. I was surprised reading in the background information that in January of '22, the board voted to remove its historic preservation designation. I don't believe it ever went so far as the required ordinance that would actually remove the designation on the Magnuson House, but I'm very concerned that was voted upon 3 years ago, and I'm just now finding out about it. As far as the zero lot line, the city commission can write variances. You wrote a variance for this very building to avoid having to use a zero lot line. And I'm also concerned about learning that 30 feet tall buildings can be allowed along Ocean Avenue. We were lied to. We were told the buildings along Ocean Avenue were going to be 1 story fronting Ocean Avenue. But in the background information tonight, I learned 30 feet, that's 3 stories fronting Ocean, that would create a concrete canyon down Ocean Avenue. And as Cindy expressed, I actually find myself agreeing with her. It would cut down on the ocean breeze coming down Ocean Avenue. So those are my big concerns tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Again, my name is Flynn Holland, and I'm here with the group with the Andrews House. We put a lot of time and effort in it. We feel like we're at a standstill now. We did a charrette. We tried to bring the community together, and we're not really moving forth to get a definitive, we go to the city council, and we've gone now to the CRA, and it's not on the agenda. And we feel like we want to move forth because we want to start finding people that will be interested in moving into them, and we've had a lot of interest in that. As you see, just today we had interest. We'd also like to start looking at things like the roof and see if we can go around and get local businesses. We've got roofing companies right at the back that might give us deals or participate, and it would be a win-win for the local businesses. In terms of the town square development on both sides, I would really like you to look back on the history of what we decided on at the beginning, which we thought was a lot. 482 was going to be senior housing, workforce housing, and it was going to be open to the center, and that this private-public partnership was going to end up being a tax development that would help all of us. Now we're looking at it, it's that much more buildings, they're going to be concrete, we're going to have the garages facing our little downtown area. And I just kind of feel like, as they say, they came in with the fact that they were going to get it done. We said we'd have it done in a year and a half. And now we're looking at 2026, they're wanting millions of dollars in TIF funds. And then the north side, which is going to be empty until 2036, is what I read. I may be wrong. And I just feel like, we're giving away the baby with the bathwater, that we need to have reasonable access, community feeling in our downtown area. I mean, that's what we had before. And like they say, it's going to be concrete. It's going to really affect sea breezes and the whole town. And so I really like you to look at the history of where we were and where we've gotten to now. I know that we've talked about it's a done deal, let's move forward. But now we have a chance, if they're asking for something, have them give us something. Open it up a little bit to the community in terms of making you feel like, oh, well, this group of people have come to be a part of our town, not to be an apartment building on either side of our downtown. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Would anyone else in the chambers like to speak under consent or items not in the agenda at all? With that, let's take a look at anyone online. There is no one?
No.
So there's no one online. Public comment is closed. We will move to the consent agenda. Are there any items my colleagues would like to pull for discussion? No?
motion to accept consent agenda.
Second?
All those in favor of approving the entirety of consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Going into 12.
12, because we didn't pull any items, so 13.
CRA Advisory Board, number 13, I'm going to turn to our interim director, Mr. Tack. Could you please give us an update on the CRA Advisory Board?
All right, so as it's been assigned to the CRA Advisory Board, they look at properties for acquisition. At the March 6th meeting, they looked at 2 properties in particular, and if Vicky, if you could scroll down a little bit. 0 Northwest 10th Avenue, which was available at the time, is actually under contract, so is no longer, so they did recommend to pursue at a future date. So the staff will keep an eye out, and if it comes back available, we will notify the board. Additionally, they looked at 400 Northeast 2nd Street. If you can go ahead and pull the pop-up map. It's a property located just on Northeast 2nd Street, just north of Boynton Beach Boulevard. Just to get your bearings, if you can scroll down a little bit further south. It is to the north of DJ's there and the Meineke, if you can see that, and just north of the vacant parcels. They looked at it. They did recommend that the CRA pursue as a land banking opportunity, and at the direction of the board, staff can proceed and investigate further and see if it is still available on the market.
Any other questions from my colleagues and the staff on this item?
What are they asking for?
Not a problem. I'll pull the
Yes.
listing right now.
Okay. Aha.
It's currently being listed as $725,000. I believe it is a quadplex that is it is affordable. I think it's Section 8 housing. It's adjacent to vacant parcels, which we could potentially look at a possible of a redevelopment or having land position in which we could have some sort of leverage for a future redevelopment.
We don't own anything around it.
We do not own anything adjacent or, no.
Okay.
When you do these deals, do they have appraisal contingencies on them if it's listed at 725?
We would actually run an appraisal of ours. That we have a list of appraisers that we have an opportunity. If it is available, it is something that you'd be interested in pursuing, we would go ahead, pull an appraisal, and bring it back for your consideration, if that is even available. Typically, when they go on the open market and they're listed, by the time we get to them, it's, so.
There are 2 properties adjacent to that. We own those, don't we?
No, those are owned by a different entity.
The one,
Just to the
How
south, just below it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the same entity that owns those 3 parcels, as well as the warehouse to the east.
I look at it as any opportunity we get that's within our guidelines, we should do land acquisition and go after it. You did a appraisal.
We have not done an appraisal yet. I'm just looking for board direction to pursue looking into this property.
Well, I say my position would be to pursue it and bring it back to us for consideration.
Okay.
Does it currently have tenants in it? Is
It does have
occupied?
it currently does. I don't know whether they could deliver it unoccupied or not. But certainly that would be some information we'll get, we'll have further information if you opt to have us bring it back.
I'm not opposed to talking about it, but if it's being advertised as a rental income, which is what it's being advertised, that's why it's, I'm sure, priced the way it is, and they're looking at at retaining the residents that are in it, so I'm not really wanting to displace anyone. So, I mean, I would be interested to maybe get some more information on it, but as of right now, I'm not really, especially with the rental market the way it is, I'm not really interested in displacing people for the sake of purchasing a property that we don't have anything close to. So, thank you.
Any other comments?
I agree with Board Member Kelly.
For clarification, I'm not clear on consensus. Would you like staff to look at it and bring it back so you can see and make a final decision, or are you directing staff to not move forward? I just need you all to agree. I don't need a motion, but we do need consensus on direction.
I would like to see more information on it.
Yeah, I would too. I'd like the staff to pursue looking at it and bring it back to us.
Correct. And if it's currently not available, or, you know, if it's under contract or whatever, we won't bring it back, obviously. But if we'll look and get more information and make that available to you, and you guys can take a further look, and we'll have additional information as far as an appraisal if it is still available as well, so that for your consideration.
Thank you. We have our direction.
Now we continue to section 14, old business. Discussion and consideration of the preliminary design for the MLK Entry Feature Park on the CRA-owned property located at 1101 Federal Highway. Mr. Tack, can you open the item?
Actually, Bonnie Nicklin will be opening this one for you tonight.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board. Bonnie Nicklin, Grandson Project Manager. So yes, as you remember last month, we were able to report back the public survey results after sending this out to get public input. We, had over 540 responses. And so it was the board's direction to move forward towards a final design based on the iDream, which was version 1. We have, since the February meeting, taken the board's direction to incorporate the doggy waste stations, provide low-maintenance landscaping, decorative signage, inclusion of power for holiday lighting installations, and larger native shade trees. We also moved the sidewalk to the back of curb to allow for more green space, and removed, if you remember, there's a little north jag of pavers to the property to the north that we kind of shaved down on. So this is the final preliminary that staff and the design team has provided to the board. They are here to talk through any of the fine details, if you'd like, regarding the landscaping. And the next steps would be, if the board wishes to move forward, we would start working on construction documents with the design team. And moving forward, this would just come back to you as project updates to keep you apprised of the current status. And we are here for questions.
Are there any questions from my colleagues?
Thank you.
Board Member Kelly?
No,
Let's take public comment. Are there any public comments on 14A?
Cindy Falco DiCarado, just a question. Are they putting any bicycle paths? It's really hard to ride bicycles around here, and I was wondering if they're going to do a project like that, if that's also being incorporated. Thank you.
Anyone online?
Nobody online.
Perfect. Any follow-ups?
Nope, I think we're
Okay, so
good.
then I think we'll just be reporting back, like I said, moving forward as we work on those fine detail pre-construction documents. Thank you.
Oh, Bonnie, are we, the plant choices, are those still fluid, or is this what they're planning on utilizing?
They have their landscape architect and design teams here to answer more specifically to that, but they did take your notes as to do native, low-maintenance landscaping, and this is what's proposed, so I believe this is what would be incorporated.
That's great, thank you.
Bonnie,
Yes, sir.
the type of trees, do you know what, those trees that are there? They're not black olive, are they?
No black olive.
Thank you.
Nor ficus. No.
I'm allergic.
Oh, gosh.
Good to know.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The public comment is now closed. Would any of my colleagues like more discussion or to make a motion?
I think based on the direction given tonight, no motion is required at this time, Board Chair. Thank you.
Okay.
Next item for discussion and consideration is the lease amendment between Boynton Beach CRA and Cafe Barista, Inc., DBA Hurricane Alley.
I know Board Member Turkin moved to table that item.
I would like to table it as well.
So motion to table item 14B.
Second?
Question. Is he not online?
Well, I just said his name and he didn't pipe up, so he mentioned it earlier during agenda approval
Okay.
that he wanted to table it, so
Okay, no
that's
problem.
why I brought it up.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Uh-huh.
The only thing that I wanted to, if I second it for discussion, the only thing that I just remember seeing in the back agenda was, I think her concern was mainly like having an increased price. As long as we're not trying to do that, I think I don't know what the board wants to do.
Right.
So,
That is correct. It was her will to let you know all by that email that she was not available. She wanted to be able to attend. She wanted to have the opportunity, if you were looking at increasing the rent in any way, she wanted the opportunity to talk to you all.
Right. So,
if I can briefly just say, I'm not looking to increase any
Right.
rent whatsoever.
Agreed.
And so, I don't know if we want to delay it or it's up to the board.
does it cause any issue to delay it, Tim?
Well-
Just for clarification, since I'm not sure Commissioner Turkin or Board Member Turkin didn't indicate why he wanted to table it during agenda approval, so I just,
And I can make my position known now, too. I'm not interested in increasing the rent. So, I mean,
Sure, okay, so procedurally speaking, there's a motion to table on the floor in the second, so you can withdraw that if that's no longer the will of this board. I believe the lease is expiring or about to be expired. However, we will take your direction not to act on that expiration until the next meeting. And so, so long as she doesn't wish to go anywhere, we won't force that discussion, and you would have time to consider it next meeting. It is my understanding from the email, which if you all choose to act on, I will read into the record, that she would be fine with you all voting to keep the rent the same, but if there was a desire to increase it, she would request the ability to be here. If you'd like, I can read that into the record, or say we can file it with the clerk, and that's sufficient. And so it's really your choice as to what you want to do. You may vote to keep it the same tonight. You may vote to increase it. You may vote to table it. All of the choices are yours. But if we're not going to table it, I would ask that Board Member Kelly, you withdraw your motion.
Also, just for a point, the lease renewal has expired. She made the request prior to, so it expired on March 1st. And obviously, it's your option to any type of enforcement, but she was earnest in trying to get the lease renewal, so, just for your consideration.
yeah, because of the confusion and because she has told us in a couple different emails that she wanted to be here, she wanted to be present, she was okay with us moving forward, she wanted to be present, I'm not comfortable. I mean, I'm not going to agree to increase her rent, but I'm not comfortable with her not being here, and because she has told us two different things in emails, I'm not comfortable moving forward, so I'm gonna stand by my motion at table.
I hear what you're saying, but if it's 100% in her favor of what she's asking for, I don't see the need for it.
She also sent us an email, though, asking us to consider not charging her rent so that she could save the money, so that she could pay her employees when her business is closed, when they're doing construction. So that's why I'm saying, because there's been multiple different emails with multiple different options from her, and that's my position on it.
That's a different decision.
Right. So I want to make sure that she's present so that we're all in agreement.
Okay, so let's table it. Let's table it then. Motion to table? Oh, did you already? Oh, okay, I second it. Or
Can you
did
second it?
Okay.
Okay. All of those in favor to the motion, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Turkin didn't vote, so it's 4-0. Okay. Okay, moving on to item 14C. Mr. Tack, can you provide us an update, please?
Absolutely. We also have Bonnie Miskell and Rob Singer here to answer any questions that you may have. The Town Square project is a subject of the existing development agreement with the city of Boynton Beach. Under its existing approvals, the project will have a total of 898 residential market rate rental units, which will have 23,500 square feet of retail space and 2 parking garages in excess of 1,000 parking spaces, with 473 public parking spaces within the garage. The south parcel will be developed as Phase 1, and the north parcel will be developed as Phase 2. TEI, Time Equities, is also making a payment towards the City of Boynton Beach Workforce Housing Fund in the amount of $2,250,000. I'm going to, per your last board meeting in February, the board heard a preliminary presentation from TEI concerning the developer's proposal and directed CRA staff and TEI to commence negotiations for a proposed agreement. CRA staff and legal have worked with TEI to propose the terms presented in the term sheet that's been provided as a part of this agenda, and they are seeking board direction on the proposed terms. I'd like to have Catherine, CRA Legal, go through that term sheet for you.
Sure. Thank you, Tim. Board Chair, if I may. We've provided a term sheet in the packet that just outlays the broad strokes of what we've been discussing with the developer. To be clear, the overall project is as exists in the developer's current entitlements with the city of Boynton Beach, and everything below that is what we have been discussing with the developer for purposes of this TIF request. So the TIF request is for 95% of the tax increment revenue generated by the project, which is essentially the CRA share of it, up to a maximum of $35.2 million. That payout would be divided into 2 phases. The first phase, as Tim said, would be Phase 1. The second phase would be Phase 2. And just as a brief recap of how TIF funding works is after a certain year, I won't go through the whole thing, but basically a portion of the tax revenue is deposited into a CRA account, and that's how CRAs are funded. CRAs have the option to return the portion of the tax that they receive to the developer as an incentive for development. And so that's the request here. Right now, although the developer is under a development agreement with the city, they are offering to accelerate their construction for Phase 1 and set a commencement date for Phase 2 as consideration for this TIF. And that would be to start construction for the first phase in 2026 and start construction of the second phase in 2032. And if those start dates are not met, then the TIF would not be granted. There's also completion of construction requirements for 6 years after commencement of construction. Again, if not met, the TIF would not be due. There are some other items in there as well, including groundbreaking ceremonies, good faith efforts to hire local jobs for temporary and permanent jobs associated with the project. The developer would be required to provide annual reports that explain their status of compliance with the agreement and on an ongoing basis. Because this project is 2 phases, one of the problems that we were asked to consider by the last board meeting was how to handle a kind of 2-phase development in a singular TIF agreement. So in talking with the developer, we came up with a proposed solution for your consideration, which is to reevaluate the need for the TIF before the second tranche for Phase 2 would kick in. It would be, the CRA would be able to select and hire the analyst, and the developer would pay for the analyst as well as the legal fees associated with the reevaluation to minimize the financial risk to the CRA. If it shows that the financial gap is bigger, the award does not increase, it stays the same. However, if it shows that the financial gap is smaller, meaning the difference between what developer currently has financed and what it believes it needs to complete the project, if that gap narrows, then the amount of TIF award would decrease. So it couldn't be increased, it could be decreased. And so that was one potential solution to address this 2-part problem. In discussing this, we were going back and forth as to whether it would make more sense from a CRA perspective to treat this award as two separate awards for consideration rather than one contract, because simply from a contract navigation and enforcement perspective, if we are, it sort of makes sense to have it as two separate agreements so that you can tie, potential breaches with the South project only to the South project, and the potential breaches to the North project only to the North project. It's my understanding from the developer, although they'll let them speak for themselves, that it's more financially stable to divide the project, so that if, for example, the first half of the project is successfully completed, put on the tax rolls, and they begin receiving TIF, that sort of be cemented in as long as they are meeting their requirements with regard to the South parcel, and then treat the North parcel entirely separately. So that's what we wanted to discuss with you tonight in terms of sort of breaking it apart and treating it functionally like two projects, as well as get your input on what it is that we've put before you as terms. I think the developer is also ready to make a presentation, and I, of course, will answer any questions that you have.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, and by the way, congratulations on your recent election, and also to Board Member Turkin. My name is Bonnie Miskell. My address is 14 Southeast 4th Street, Boca Raton, Florida. I am joined by Rob Singer, who is with Time Equities, who is the applicant here. We recognize that the three of the four here have seen our presentation from January, but we included it here in the event, Madam Chair, you wish for us to give you a brief summary, and we're happy to do it, and it has been downloaded. We'd also like to thank staff. We've been busy with them, and they've spent a lot of time and energy with us, and we very much appreciate it. They're an incredible staff and a pleasure to work with. So we'll leave it up to you as to whether you'd like for us to go through it or to hit the highlights. That's fine too, whatever is your preference.
Yes, please go through it.
Right, if it could be loaded, and we could have the remote.
I believe it's attachment 3, Vicki.
I ask you to move it forward. Okay, because we're not going to hit every. Technology, trying to figure out how to move it forward. If you'll go to the next slide, please. And we'll skip through who's who, but those are some principals with the company. And we have a picture. The next one down is a picture of one of their projects in Chicago, a tried and true company that you're working with. The town square background, I think we can go through that if you wish, but this site has a lot of history. Yeah. So we'll, if you have questions, we can speak to those directly, so we'll keep going here. So this is the overall master plan and site plan. And the south parcel is on the right side of the screen. The city hall and public properties are the two middle parcels, and the north parcel is on the left side of the screen. That is adjacent to Boynton Beach Boulevard. Seacrest is on the south side of this and on the bottom. Technically it's phase 2 because phase 1 is built today and we're standing in it, but I'm going to call it for ease. Phase 1 is the south parcel. It is on the right side, and our phase 2 is the north parcel on the left. Next slide, please. We can go through this very briefly if you'd like. Again, what's on the screen is the breakdown of the units, the parking spaces, the retail. The site plan has been approved, and the lower box tells you the value of what's being constructed per phase. Significant investment in the city of Boynton Beach, significant increase to your tax roll. Next slide, please. So this is what you're looking at today. Again, the south parcel is on the right side, north parcel on the left. Next slide, please. And then some of these slides are giving you some artistic renderings of what the project will look like. Again, these site plans have been approved. They've already come to you before. Next slide, please. And you can scroll through these pretty quickly because, next, it's fine. This is a little close-up for you to get a sense of an elevation. with me. Well, you
Well,
want, I'll
and
let you
with,
take it.
with respect to the, I mean, the architecture. Oh, sorry, I'm Robert Singer with Time Equities. So the site plans are approved. We worked for years with staff on the architecture, on bringing this back from a place it was a pretty dark place, actually. And, you know, architecture's in the eye of the beholder. But what this did, we had 1,000 meetings and years working with planning staff, with different architects. So what you're seeing is what we and city staff and the architecture community believes to be not only beautiful buildings, but marketable buildings, highly valuable buildings. You know, so when we got into this deal, and we are a major development company, we do skyscrapers,
Please.
I don't know if it's
Can we keep the
appropriate
comments
to,
from
like,
the audience?
Yeah. We've already invested, you know, some enormous amount of money in Boynton Beach, because we believe in Boynton Beach, and Boynton Beach is an amazing community, and we want to help it. Just so we can go back a little bit, the Town Square project was not approved by this commission. This commission came into Town Square, and we've been working together to try to solve Town Square. The city is currently paying bonds on some $100 million of debt that they took to build Phase 1. And the business plan was to build the residential components, which haven't been able to be purchased. And when we came in, we worked with everybody, we figured out the buildings, we swapped land, we figured out how to get this thing right. And what we said at the time, and we still maintain, is that we're not, while we're a major company, we're not magicians, and we can't do things, we can't operate outside of market forces. You've heard this from a lot of people, Bonnie will tell you, different developers. Over the last couple of years, the conditions to develop have deteriorated. Interest rates have doubled and tripled. Construction costs have gone up remarkably, insurance rates. Now we're looking at tariffs. Things aren't getting better, by the way. Things are getting more difficult. We're looking at tariffs. We're looking at more uncertainty in financial markets. Notwithstanding all that, we're plowing through, and what we identified was that we still want to go ahead and take the risk of building this project, because this is what Boynton designed. The idea that like somehow people weren't involved in designing Town Square. I mean, we didn't design it, the master plan, and it's the zoning. And in fact, during the process, some of the retail rules were changed. We made sure that everything that we could adjust within the zoning was adjusted for. So, given where conditions are, we all have a choice. We hired an economist. We said, what would be the fiscal gap to build, $500 million of buildings in today's environment? Is there a fiscal gap? And we determined that there was a fiscal gap. The city and the CRA hired its own consultant to determine if that fiscal gap was correct. That analysis demonstrated that, in fact, it was correct, and not dissimilar to, on a proportionate basis, to any of the other TIFs that have been provided. And Boynton is smart because they use the CRA, and you've just agreed to hire a lobbyist to go fight for this exact reason, because it's an important tool to be able to use this to incentivize development. And again, for people who aren't in this every day, this isn't the city giving us $35 million or any money for that matter. This is us building a building, delivering it, creating the value, creating the jobs, creating the economic impact, paying our tax bill, and then getting a rebate of money that you wouldn't otherwise have because the building wouldn't be there for a certain amount of time, so that the economics work and we can build it and finance it in the conditions that we're in today. So hopefully all of that tracks, and I don't want to go on forever with it, but I do think it's important that when we hear you know, this is a giveaway or whatever. It's the opposite. It's us taking on a massive amount of risk to get the projects built. Why is there a gap in the time? Well, you can't build two at the same time. You have to build the first one first. We have to stabilize it. It has to be successful, and then we have to build the second one. They can't be both built at the same time. You wouldn't even want that. And it's also important to say that housing, I mean, this is following the rules, but having market rate housing, and by the way, we're making a $4.5 million contribution to workforce housing, not two. We're building the city $20 million. There's a whole litany of things that the city is getting from this. But the value is there. The CRA's consultant has confirmed it. And what happened last month was excellent. We came in, we had a conversation about it. Really, as Bonnie said, the point of contention was how do we deal with the second phase? Because the CRA doesn't want to commit to its fiscal gap today for something that may not happen for some time. Ironically, in the middle of this month, the state is trying to take away the CRA, which brings up the point about why it's important to approve that second phase today, as long as there's, as Catherine said, guardrails for the city. So what we've agreed to is to have a process that the CRA controls to come back, and it doesn't have to. It's by 2032. We can start the process whenever we want. But if it's beyond 32, then we can't start the process. But it's a process that goes to reconfirming what the fiscal gap is for phase 2, but only after we successfully deliver the first project. Okay? If we don't successfully build and deliver the first project, the whole thing is canceled. So this puts enormous pressure, as there should be, on us. If we want to take advantage of this tool, this is the city leveraging the tool that you have in an appropriate way to spur the development, to get not only the hundreds of millions of dollars of direct benefits, but when you talk to the economists and they talk about the knock-on benefits of having these projects and the spending and the jobs, the numbers get into the billions for what this spending $500 million of real money in Boynton Beach is going to do. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of, does any of that, hopefully that all tracks, and especially, Madam Chair, because you're new here, and I know you've been following it, but we want to give you the benefit of sort of backing up and going through the history of it one more time and why we're here. So.
Okay, and if we can advance, I think there's a little confusion about the value of the tax over the life of the building versus what they're asking. Once they are paid off essentially, or given the rebate in the amounts that are proposed for phase 1 and phase 2, you don't continue to pay or rebate. It stops.
It works out to 10 years for 1 and 8 years for 2, and then for the rest of time, then you have the buildings
the full benefit
on the payroll, on the tax roll forever.
And the people that are generating more disposable income, did we overextend ourselves here? Okay. Actually, when you're presenting it and there's a lot of information, I think you probably want to hear more because we're trying to help you understand. So in any event.
Please address.
Yes.
Okay. So essentially, now I've lost my train of thought, but the purpose of a CRA, and I know you know this, but for those people who don't understand the Community Redevelopment Act, when Boynton Beach years ago attempted to qualify and obtain a CRA within their city boundaries, they had to prove at a minimum that there was blight. And back then there was a lot of blight. This CRA and the city have done wonders in eradicating it as much as you can. But again, this is one tool that we have applied to use, and we have to demonstrate to this board that there is a fiscal gap and that this is the right project to apply it to and use your tools so that you can eradicate blight. I can assure you 2 vacant pieces of dirt sitting in a core downtown in a city like Boynton Beach, that's blight, and it's unfortunate. Mr. Singer's company didn't create the problem. They're here as part of the solution, and I think, you're happy to see them. So in any event, if we can continue to scroll down, I'd just like to show some of the numbers, but those are the 2 different phases that we've talked about.
If Madam Chair needs to, it's up to you. We can keep.
We can continue
keep
if
pounding
you'd
the
like.
numbers. We can talk about the terms.
No, I read all the documents on the numbers, though. I read
And
all
I-
the
and-
attachments.
And by the way, this presentation was in your backup, so I'm sure we're being a bit redundant here. But at the last meeting, the one major point was your question about how can we be sure if we approve phase 2 that day or tonight or the next time we're here, that by the time you get around to building phase 2, there's a fiscal gap at all. And we could only hope there isn't. And if that's the case, then there will be no funding for phase 2. If it is less than what we've proposed and what we've demonstrated and what your consultant has agreed to, then it will be reduced on a pro rata basis. So you asked us to give you a guardrail, and you have one now. And we think that's fair and reasonable. And our document that had been submitted, our agreement, as will be revised based on whether you believe that we should do it in 1 or 2 contracts, will reflect that accordingly. So.
And I think it's an exciting time because, and I think I sent this to some of staff, but not throwing out names, but we work with big lenders. We have a major lender who's been on this job, who's tracking this particular construction loan for us. And I forwarded the emails, but Goldman Sachs, not saying that they're going to be the lender or that we have a full construction loan, but they are one of several major lenders who want to lend the money to us to do phase 1. Let me say that again. We're sitting here at a time of a lot of uncertainty, but we have a major lender who's very interested, and I can show you the documents, in making a loan on phase 1. It's contingent upon the TIF. So we have a choice. We can use the tool that the CRA has to support a fiscal gap that the CRA's consultant has demonstrated to be accurate and proportionate with the other TIFs on the most important project in the history of Boynton Beach, or we could not. But if we don't use the tool, then we can't build, and we'll make decisions based on whatever that means later. But our hope tonight, after working with staff and attorneys for a month, we think we're very close on a document. There's guardrails, and the benefits are remarkable for the city. And we're hopeful. I mean, I guess our request tonight would be for direction on going forward, finishing up a document and coming back for a vote. Not voting tonight, but that's kind of, I think, we wanted to talk about today.
If I may add, Madam Board Chair, just in response to a public comment received earlier and in response to this discussion, one additional guardrail was included in what we've talked about with the developer, which is in the event of the expiration of the CRA, the TIF agreements would dissolve and the burden would not transfer to the city. Sure. So in the event that the CRA expires, the TIF obligation would also expire. Typically speaking, when a special district dissolves, the assets and the liabilities transfer to for purposes of this, I'm just going to say the city of Boynton Beach. That's this part of the guardrails that we've discussed are removing that TIF obligation. So.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you guys for your presentation. I do recognize that this is a very important project in our downtown. We all understand that. I do have a few questions that I want to, and I think you kind of touched on that a little bit. One of the concerns was, potentially if we were to do the full amount, it would go up to, I think, what was it, what year was it?
I would say, I think it's
32.
2042 or
32.
2043. It would depend, it depends on, it's not a numeric answer because it depends on the construction date.
But like a possibility per se.
Well, say, if they started in 2032, then we would say 2042 is probably about right, or 2044. In any case, the CRA sunsets in 2044, so that would be the latest. But if they were to start earlier, it might commence earlier, it might end earlier. It's in flux, so we've done it as they must complete construction within 6 years. The next year, the property goes on the tax roll. Once the CRA receives the money from the tax roll, the TIF starts. So I can't give you a specific answer, but that's generally the structure.
But it does highlight the importance of starting sooner, because the way it kind of spaces out is that even in a worst case scenario, we would be able to get the rebate of the full TIF prior to the sunset of the CRA in 2044.
Which incentivizes them to start more quickly so that they have the time to receive the funding.
All right, and then I do understand you're giving $4.5 million to the Workforce Housing Fund. But if we're gonna be giving you $35 million, it kind of overrides part of that in a theoretical sense.
No, I mean, you're not, look.
There's a few thoughts, I'm just gonna
Yeah,
kind of, but I do recognize it's an important project for downtown.
TIF works where we pay the taxes and you rebate them to us for a period of time. So nothing comes out of your pocket. So nothing comes out of the city's or the CRA's pocket. It's a mechanism, but so while you're rebating to us the taxes, which we needed in order to build the project, you're getting all of the other benefits of the project, including all the parking, all the fees, all of the everything, all the economic development. And so that's what you're trading. You're saying, we'll give you back some of your the taxes that you pay after successfully completing for a period of time. During that period of time, you're gonna have the benefits of the rest of the project, and then, which include, by the way, just to get started, on the 473 parking space, there's 2/3 of them or something that you're allowed to meter and make money on, and to keep 100% of that money. So that's another cash flow stream that you'll be opening up soon. So that's the point, and that's how you look at it normally.
Thank you. In a theoretical sense, and like, let's hope that doesn't happen, but if Tallahassee moves forward with that bill and the CRA is dismantled, does that mean that, as you said, any agreements that we have with the CRA as of now would then turn over to the city of Boynton Beach?
To be clear, the legislation would not terminate the CRA. However, it would prevent the CRA from taking on new projects. This would be an existing project at the point where it's showing up in the budget and we have agreements on, so those would be in place if they are approved. And if this bill goes through, I suspect you will see your staff before you with a series of resolutions and budgets and other things to kind of secure the projects that are planned for. If for some reason they weren't approved, this agreement does allow the developer to terminate it which would just mean that the CRA does not pay the TIF. There may be a circumstance in which they want to do that if the CRA does not move forward. I'm not saying that they do, but they do have that option to terminate it.
But especially with the Tallahassee situation, it re-highlights the importance of if we all want to, and we're all partners in this, it's a public-private partnership. If we all want to move forward with this, then we do have to approve it soon, because of the possibility that the state takes away the right to even use this tool, which is why, again, we voted 4-1 to lobby to keep the tool and to keep your rights to do what you want with your money.
As a footnote, and I think that this is important for your community to hear, that you're one of the lucky CRAs. The county, Palm Beach County, actually happened to agree to contribute their share of the taxes that they would otherwise get into your tool, your fund. Not all cities have been so successful, unfortunately for them, and they only have their own portion to work within. You know, if in fact the bill had applied and said, oh, no, we're not going to do that anymore, we want the counties to get back their money. That would be unfortunate because the tool not only gives you the right to use yours, it gives you the right to use theirs, number one. And number two, you know, and I hope the bill doesn't pass because, you know, while this, if you approve this, this project would be protected for the commitment that you make, you wouldn't be able to use it for any other new projects, which means that the county wouldn't have to forego their side of the equation for any future so when you look at these numbers, you have to understand that that's the full bucket. It's not just the city's side of it. Okay.
Thank you for that.
So if nothing gets built, then then there's no tax revenue going to the city. And if we use, and this is the whole theory of the program, is that it's better to rebate the developer back some of their taxes so that for a period of time, because you otherwise wouldn't be getting the money anyway. So rebate the taxes, which allows the project to go forward, which allows the city to experience the benefits, all the other benefits that come from the project, and then in the course, the project the TIF will burn off and you start to collect the full taxes.
As we grow, and this is something I'm thinking about, again, specifically if the CRA were to terminate and now we're on the city side, we have things like the bond for Town Square that we have to pay back. And that's a real,
that's real money.
I think that a lot of us that have been here for a while know that we owe that money. It's not going anywhere. And the hopes for building Town Square was with the purpose of getting those tax dollars back as tax revenue to be able to then pay off the debt of the bond. So that's one thing. But it is a correct statement to say that if we don't build anything at all, then we also don't get the tax revenue either. So I'm just trying to look at this
Well, you have to
holistically.
look at it, generally, we look at it over time. And if you look at, you have to, like a generational perspective on this. So in the short term, you wouldn't have the city share of the taxes either way. But if you rebate them back and the project gets built, then from year 10 to year 100 and, 2,300 and whatever, you will have the revenue on the boards for all of that time in perpetuity. So that's the leverage. And Bonnie makes a good point that in particular, the leverage here is coming from us all being able to leverage the county dollars in addition to the city dollars, what would have gone to the city. So,
thank you.
But yeah, the bonds, the city spent about $50 million in cash and took about $80 million in debt, and paying about combined $7 million for real every single year to service just the debt, let alone the initial capital that went in. And this gives you a path to a source to pay for those bonds over time.
And also, as we grow, we know that we have to grow our police department, we have to grow our fire department, we have to grow our employees all over the city. We have to pay pensions. We had changes in the pensions a few months ago. So I am a little bit, although I obviously we need to build this, we need to build Town Square in order to get the funding at some point. I'm a little bit concerned that the amount is a bit up there with regard to the needs that we're gonna have immediately as soon as these buildings are built. And that has to do with, again, the bonds that we owe, and we owe that now. We don't owe that 20 years from now, we owe that now. As we grow, our police department has to grow, our fire department has to grow, our staff at City Hall and all over has to grow.
But
So we're gonna have to find.
We pay impact fees.
Right.
This is really important. we're paying humongous impact. This is part of the package of things that come to you when we pull our the permit fees, the impact fees, the workforce housing fees, you know, the parking, all of these things you get up front. You get all of that up front. And or we can and then there's a limited term of the TIF, which, by the way, is in place in several, Boynton's used it successfully in any number of developments. And as I said, the impacts are covered with the impact fees, and then you get all the economic benefits of the project.
And just to throw out a number, we're talking about around $14 million worth of fees, which are typically front-ended when you go to get your permit, not to mention all the other values. And unlike some of the other TIFs that have gone forward, this project commits 100% of the parking revenue, which is incredibly abnormal in most CRAs.
473 parking spaces,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
right.
and we need that. We
Yeah,
definitely
I
need
mean,
that
it's
public parking.
significant. And the value of that parking is over $25 million that you are not picking up. So there, you know, some of these go to the development agreement, but the point is, you know, they don't, you know, the neighbors don't necessarily know all the public benefits. This one probably has more than any others. So it's a significant, it's very significant. But more importantly, you know, you're creating jobs, you're creating people for jobs that are going to be coming here that wouldn't otherwise. You're creating new inventory for residential, and you're getting rid of blight, and probably the most significant blight in your city, because you've spent millions of dollars on this beautiful building, and sitting on each side, you have nothing. And, you know, when people come to your city hall, whether it's to go to a meeting or to apply for their business tax receipt, they don't see a vibrant area. They see blight. And staff has accelerated the timeframe.
But when we talk about 900
I have a quick
units,
question for staff. The first part of the TIF, right? We're looking at the southern parcel.
Correct.
Which is that where the majority of the public parking spaces are?
they're divided equally
Really?
pursuant to the site plan.
Yeah, it's close to being equal. The one's a little bit more than the other.
When you have 900 apartments, you have thousands of people living here who, first of all, having more market rate apartments goes to lowering rents because there's more supply. This is an important concept, that having more supply of apartments actually goes towards, I mean, unfortunately for developers, but it goes towards lowering rents, which is a good thing because there's more competition. But in any event, we are really at the precipice here, and I mean, we can show you the Wall Street Journal, we can show you a million things. It's not possible to build right now without the TIF. And our hope, after working through the process and having a contract, our hope is that we can move forward together and finally recognize and realize Town Square.
And if I can clarify one thing. So the Goldman Sachs letter that Mr. Singer referenced, within that letter, it says that it's not financeable without that gap being covered. So that's not Rob saying it, that's a very large institution telling you that sadly, this market isn't there. But they are willing to move forward with this, provided that that gap is closed.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your, I'm going to pass the rest to the board. Thank you.
Well, let's start with you, Woodrow. Do you have any comments?
Yes, great discussion. But I just still feel a little uneasy about a few things. I mean, when you first came in like gangbusters, ready to go, and now you can't do the project unless you have the TIF.
Well, respectfully, Mr. Greenberger was here. all we ever said, I mean, we can run the tape back. We're not magicians. We can't do things that don't make economic sense, that don't work in the financial markets. What we said is, to the extent that anybody can finance something and build something and execute something, it likely will be us. So that's a distinction. It didn't say, well, we have $1 trillion and we're ready to just do whatever we said. Given we don't know where this market's going to go, and by the way, the market happened over the last 3 years to go down. So I don't want to get into this thing where we said we were going to build it and we're gangbusters and now we're not. All we ever said was that we love Boynton, we believe in this project, and to the extent that it is financeable and it is economic in the environment that we're operating in, we will do everything we can, and we have the best or as good a chance as anybody else to get it done. And so us coming to you for TIF is actually in line with that, because that's us saying, guys, this is the gap. We're covering the rest of it. This is the gap. If we weren't coming to you, that would actually be more problematic because we wouldn't be building and you'd say, what are you doing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure it does. Rada, is this one project broken up into 2 phases, or is this 2 projects?
It's one project broken into 2 phases.
So then, if you complete phase 1, which is on the southern end,
That's correct.
whatever that time frame is, was it 10 years, you'd be willing to come back to the negotiation table for phase 2?
That's not quite what the commitment was. What we agreed to do was to demonstrate, and actually your CRA will be retaining their own vendor, an economist, at our expense, at my client's expense, and that economist will be tasked with doing the same thing that Mr. Abramson did, which is to show you, to tell you what is the fiscal gap.
To reaffirm whether or not the fiscal
That
gap
number.
that's established now has grown or is less.
And the way that the wording is, and you'll see it, and it's not our intent to change it, that is, if it is equal to, if the gap is equal to or greater than, it could get worse, they're committing to what they're asking for now. But if it is less, then we're not asking you to pay, that same number. It would be reduced accordingly based on the difference. So you get to see it again, and you
The
get
cap,
to.
the cap would be there at 35 too.
That's correct. And it could be less if the fiscal gap.
He's at the cap.
Okay, yeah.
Now, for whatever, because I'm a little paranoid based on what we've gone through.
History, we understand.
If you complete phase 1, or when you complete phase 1, you'd be looking for the TIF on that.
It's upon completion
But
of
if
the
it's one
project.
project, why should not both phases be completed before you looking to get TIF dollars?
Well, no, they're financed.
Suppose you don't finish phase 2 for whatever reason.
So
We've been there, done that, okay? And you go your way.
TIFs are incentive agreements. We need an incentive. They're financed. The projects are financed separately, and they're incentive agreements. So what the incentive is I mean, we don't have to do anything ever. We can just sit there. But what we're trying to come to a deal on is, you give us the incentive on phase 1. We perform on phase 1, and then the capital that's going into phase 1 has to know that the TIF associated with phase 1 is good. So that's that. And then we have an incentive date to hit phase 2. And then we're going to do everything we can. It's in our interest. We paid market value for the land. We have no reason to not do everything under the sun, just like we're doing now, to come back and build phase 2. And if phase 2 gets built successfully, then that would receive its TIF. So but phase 1 can't wait until the end of phase 2 to start getting TIF, because that doesn't function. We need, phase 1 is related to phase 1. The taxes have to be paid on phase 1.
I hear what you're saying, Rod. I really do. I just like to ask my legal, if they walk away in phase 2, what's our protection?
In the structure that's being proposed, if phase 1 is completed, and then TIF goes out on that, and phase 2 is not completed, essentially what happens is we just don't pay TIF, because they're not eligible for TIF till we get it. So if the project isn't completed, it doesn't go on the tax rolls, there is no TIF to give. So, it doesn't.
We lose the incentive.
So you lose the incentive.
Yes. So if 2 is never built, then we lose the $15 million award here. And whether it can be built in 5 years or 10 years, who knows? Whenever the market improves, they'll be looking. And by then, by the way, remember, by then, the CRA is likely to have expired or it's about to expire. So the opportunity, they have a huge incentive to go forward with 2 because the CRA is going to expire. Palm Beach County is not extending CRAs. And when they do, they're not offering their portion. They're saying, CRA, you can do whatever you want. Boynton, if you want to do it, go forward, but we're not in. So the incentive to them is to get, and I think Catherine acknowledged that, is for us to get going as fast as possible.
Right.
Because when it expires, the money expires. If we don't do what we're supposed to do, we lose our incentive for 2.
Yeah, you don't have to pay. And that puts you in the same position as you would be if, you're not in any worse position.
You're actually in a better position.
You're in a better position. There's
because
one building on the
phase one,
rolls and
yeah.
it's done. But again, and just like we said 3 years ago when we were here, we are going to build phase 1 if we can close the gap, and we know and that's a short-term thing. We're gonna build it. When that's done, we will go and do everything we can to build phase 2. But we're not magicians, and we can't build things that aren't economic. So the benefit, though, of approving the 2, kind of the contract with 2 pieces, especially given the legislation that we're dealing with, is that we could capture the second phase prior to, some date that they turn off this CRA tool, which preserves our right now, our ability to incentivize us to work together to build phase 2. So that's why it's so important to sort of capture them both now and prove them as one project with 2 phases. But with the guardrails that fiscal gap is capped for phase 2.
Okay.
And
Well,
I think
believe me, Rod and Bonnie, I want to get this done and completed probably more than you do, okay? But, get burned once, shame on you.
But again, this is
twice,
not-
shame on me. So I'm not saying that you are going to. I just want to hear it up front, and that legal is saying the right thing that I want to hear, and they are. So, I want to move it forward as quickly as possible. I really do. And if what we're saying here, it can be written up in black and white.
If I may, yes. So the question that you asked is precisely why we're back before the board, right? And the practical reality is, and Mr. Singer can correct me if I'm wrong, but from a secure financing perspective, it makes more sense to treat this from a paper perspective as 2 projects, because that's more financial security in what they're trying to do. And you can correct me if I'm not encapsulating that correctly, but in terms of
2 projects?
they're financing it as 2 different phases. And so we would be aligning our financing with their current financing plans.
Okay.
So that's what we were seeking your direction on. And
Yeah,
I may not have
it's a
said
little
that.
bit of jargon. I mean,
Okay.
whether we call it one project with 2 phases or 2 different projects, but the idea is that they should be documented and approved
Yeah.
now prior to this tool going away, but with the incentive dates and the guardrails that are in place. And I would say that even the CRA's consultant, Mr. Abramson, he couldn't have been, it was just last month, he couldn't have been any clearer that the numbers are the numbers, that the gap exists, and that he was recommending to that because he's not only looking at does the gap exist, he's also looking at the benefits that come from delivering, and the benefits to the city that come from delivering are so in excess of the rebate that we would get back that it's overwhelming and that's why other TIFs are awarded, because it's a program that makes sense. So his point was, given that this is the biggest $500 million between the two of them, and it's the biggest in Boynton Beach, and there's all this debt on it and everything else, let's use the tool that's available and let's move to get forward together.
Thank you.
Board Member Kelly, any comments?
Thank you. I just have one comment. Thank you, both of you. You know, this has been a long process, and just for the public who hasn't been involved in the process, I know there are some that are, you know, this is, you know, you have worked with the residents. We had all kinds of neighborhood meetings where you worked with the residents, you changed different parts of the plans based on those conversations, based on conversations with us and the board. And it is always a hard pill to swallow when you're looking at the numbers because they look big. We're also looking at a almost $500 million project. So when you look at, you know, how that's really going to change the city, and I know that there is some hesitation and I think with everyone, because we're so used to looking at dirt, it's hard to imagine looking at buildings. I think we all share in that kind of reservation as to what this is going to look like and how it's going to change the look of our city. But we know that it's your right to do it. You purchased this property. And I know you're coming to us asking for TIF. And I also just want to remind the people that are listening that you, like you mentioned, you're paying impact fees and all of these fees that benefit the city up front. And so this is you know, this is coming on the back end once you build. So if you don't build the project, whether it's now or in 5 years, and you don't build, the CRA and, you know, doesn't start paying you anything until it's built. So it's really an incentive for you, like you've said, to get the project started and, you know, and completed, absolutely. I didn't, and I understand, I spoke with staff and I understand the reason to phase in the award. And I think part of, you know, what Board Member Hay was saying was, and I agree, is that it's kind of hard when you have one project. You know, we're used to having one project and dealing with that one project with the TIF request, and to have it be, and I understand that it's been broken down all along into 2 phases, and so it makes sense to break down the TIF award now too. But there is some concern that if all we get is phase 1, you're still collecting TIF on phase 1. Even though phase 2, the entire project is not completed. And so that is you know, it's because we want the entire project to happen. And so really it is one project. And so as much as I understand breaking it down into 2 phases, I have concern, and although I know Catherine has worked really hard and your legal team has worked really hard to put in guardrails, and I appreciate that. My concern is just that if we don't get the whole project, you're still collecting on TIF, and then we're looking at dirt on one project. And I understand, I know that that's not going to happen, but just like Board Member Hayes said, we have been burned. We're sitting here looking at dirt that another developer swore to these residents in the past that they were going to get senior housing, that they were going to get all that, with no intention. I don't think he had any intention of building any of it. And that is, I think he just placated the public and telling them what they wanted to hear. And now here we are having to, you know, convince our residents to support you and to understand the vision. That's a hard pill to swallow when they were promised previously that it was going to be low. And so I support you in this project. You have, in your right to do, have bought this land. And my only concern is that it's difficult for me to swallow that you can potentially collect TIF money on phase one, and we're potentially looking at dirt in phase two. I know that's not your plan, I know that's not your intention, but that's my concern.
Well, let me respond, because if to get phase two done, the best way to get phase two done, get the whole thing done, is to get phase one done. If we can't get one, then we're not gonna get two, right?
That's true.
It's true. So what we need to do together is get one done, and to get one done, we need a TIF. When that building needs to go on the TIF rolls, and the lenders will not give us the money unless they know that there's a TIF. So it's not something I can even, it's not like I can't negotiate it, because it can't get done. So first phase has to get its TIF upon completion. And that gets us and if we don't build phase one or start on this exact date, then the whole thing, the whole commitment's off and everything's done. But if we do succeed, think of it as an incentive. If we succeed on phase one, then we earn the right to have an incentive date to hit for phase two. And the best way to get phase two built is to get phase one built, and then have the incentive for phase two. We are absolutely, we're not going anywhere. We've kind of been around for 55 years. We're trying to build phase two. But to break the deal, to make the deal such that we can't get phase one financed because you're worried about whether we build phase two, is counterproductive. Because then you get nothing, and we get nothing. So we have to, and it's not like the previous developer where he was handed land for free. We paid market value. We're operating in the real world, and we are executing at this level. We have we've spent millions upon millions and millions upon millions of dollars to get even where we are today. And what we're saying is, we share your vision. We want to build 2 buildings. We bought 2 pieces of land. But in order to get there, we have to get one done first. And so that's why, yes, there's a theoretical possibility that we build one and then the world blows up, or God knows what happens, and phase two sits there. That is a possibility, and people are going to have to. I mean, I don't want that either. That would be terrible. But we can't let the fear of that scenario stop us from using the tool that we have now to allow us to take the first step, which then gets us the second step.
No, I get it, and I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, because I feel like that's what we're doing. But the numbers that you've come up with to break down in phase one and phase two as far as your TIF requests, where have those numbers come from? And this is my thought process.
From your consultant.
No, I mean breaking down phase one and phase two. I know where the total came from, and I know where we've talked about.
The breakdown is specifically from the
Okay.
consultant.
Are you asking the question that we're asking for more in phase one than phase two?
Sort of. I'm almost thinking I could swallow it if phase one was less. Almost like you are getting even more of an incentive by.
Again, it's the other way around. The numbers that your consultant came up with were 20 and 15. The reason why the TIF requirement goes down in the later years is because we all agreed that the rents would theoretically go up, and so the gap would be lower. We pretended in the analysis, and Mr. Abramson can get back on, that the construction costs would not go up, but that the rents would. And what that did is it shrunk the fiscal gap for the outbuilt for phase two. That's actually what happened. So, but in the present day, especially given everything that we're dealing with, I mean, the number, to be honest with you, our original economic consultant showed a much higher number.
Right.
We in Abramson are sure that this particular TIF for phase one and phase two, the breakdown of them, this is just this is just what it is in order to move forward. And the thing is, you're not giving us the money until, first of all, we complete,
I
and
know,
second
I
of all,
know.
we pay you and you rebate.
Yeah, I know.
So it's the interests are aligned. The interests, you have to believe us that the interests are aligned. We're not someone who's got the property for free and we don't have any experience and we're messing around and we don't have Goldman Sachs. I can assure you that if there was ever a proper use of the incentives in a particular environment that demands it, and a project that deserves it, it would have to be this.
And just a reminder, this may be the last application that you'll see if that bill is approved, unless somebody can get in before if it's effective July 1, before July 1. But, and when that happens, you're losing not just your portion of the tool, but you're also losing the county. And how often does the county contribute to Boynton Beach? So that's a real opportunity for you. And I'm just going to say something, I'm probably going to misstate it, and I may get corrected, but I remember hearing, it might have been sitting as a commissioner, when Commissioner Turkin said, don't let perfect get in the way of a good deal. You have a good deal here because you get to use the county's money too. And nothing is perfect. Perfect would be that there would be no fiscal gap, and he could have started, I don't know how many months ago when he actually acquired the property. But it's not a perfect, we don't have perfect conditions. We're so far from perfect conditions, it's sad. But we're hopeful that for phase 2, and that's built into the numbers, that when we get there, rents will be up, his first phase will be stabilized, and you're looking at potentially reduction, or maybe not at all, so.
Right, and I think, thank you for just saying that, because it reminded me that, and we talked about it earlier tonight, where, we do get to reevaluate phase 2. And so if for some reason your need for, TIF is less, then that does decrease the need, and so.
You control it, and the CRA controls that. It's not like I'm going to turn in, and they negotiate, because I wanted to hand a report in that says whatever I wanted it to say. I mean, I'm joking, but they said, no, we're control the report. We're going to tell you if you need this or not. So all we're doing is, by pre-approving it, we capture the, it's like a placeholder. We're capturing it in now so that so that it doesn't disappear, but you have a guardrail. And again, if the world is great and we don't need it, we don't want it.
Right. Okay. I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Okay. That was a lot to take in. I obviously would like more time on this issue just because I am new here and this has gone all over the board. And so we do not plan to vote on this tonight, correct?
No, Madam Chair, we were simply seeking your direction on the treating the financing of Phase 1 and Phase 2 separately, and as well as, any other feedback you'd like to provide us on any other aspect of the terms. If we receive that direction, then we will proceed to bring agreement or agreements to you next meeting for your consideration, at which point you would take public comment and vote and all of that. And so this is certainly not the final look at it, but given that this is a slight change from previous discussions, we wanted to seek your input before we finalize.
Okay, so when it comes back next time, then we will do the public comments. Correct, okay.
And just a reminder, our next meeting will be about 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. I think, that's enough for me to digest this after everything and hearing the earlier comments.
Can I make a last comment?
Please.
So again, I reiterate, I stated it before, I'll state it again. This project is very important to our downtown. It's the core project of our downtown. So I do understand that. And we have given TIF in the past. My hesitation is the amount. We've never given this much, right? And I do understand we're getting the public parking spaces. That's a public benefit, right? So I guess, here's my question, and see if you guys would consider. If we were to potentially move forward with an agreement, and we can have more conversations with staff and things of that nature, but, you know, we are getting 473 public parking spaces. You're giving $4.5 million to the Workforce Housing Fund. Now, in my opinion, and I don't know if the board agrees or not, but giving money to the fund is great. However, in exchange potentially for giving you guys TIF, and you don't have to answer me right now, it's a conversation we can continue to have. But it's just so that you guys can kind of see where my mind is going. It's like, instead of giving that money to the housing fund, why not just appropriate some units for workforce housing so that we can feel better about it and say, you know what, like, we're providing workforce housing for the community, we're giving public parking spaces, and that way, I mean, the significant TIF that we're looking at here would be more palatable for me. You know, I would definitely feel better that way when we're actually physically getting, because it is way higher than other amounts that we've looked at before.
Well, can I?
You don't have to answer now.
No, but
we
let's
can
just talk about it, because
Yeah.
the reason that the number is, so we're doing 900 units and it's 35 million. It's, other TIFs have been 10 million and 300 units or something like this, or 300 units in 10 or 11 or 9 or whatever. So it's a, you know, and again, once you adjust for the different benefits and everything else, but it's just proportionate. The numbers are big because the numbers are big. It's not, it's actually proportionate to everything else that's ever been done. So that's, and I think that's a really, actually, it's an important point, because it's two different buildings, both of which are about double the size of other buildings. So the nominal 35 million is a function not of a bad deal. It's just, it's a proportionate deal that relates to the market and relates to other TIFs and everything else, and it's been approved and studied. So that's that. When we were going through the site plan process, there was my recollection is that the city was more interested in building up their workforce housing fund. So it's a statutory thing. So it says, like, you either had this many, you can give this many units, or you can pay for them. There was an interest when you have the cash, you can use the cash to renovate apartments, build houses. You have flexibility with what you do with the cash. You can borrow against the cash. There's a lot of things you can do with the cash. And what we understood is that people at the city wanted the cash. If we wanted to, I mean, that's how we got here. But if for whatever reason we want to reopen that and look at providing certain units on site, we can look at that.
Yeah, I don't want to put you guys on the spot. I just want to explain or share.
But it's two different things.
My thoughts.
You brought up 2 points. One is the amount, and the other is your interest in maybe getting affordable units on site. Those are two different things. The amount is the amount. It's been established by everyone under the sun, and it's proportionate. But the other point, which is I'm happy to talk about, we're here to talk, if cash, if the theory is changing and now you say, look, instead of this, you want some units on site, we can talk about that. We're flexible.
I think at the moment, we start to wrap this one up and put it on in 2 weeks. Because that is a different issue than what we're talking about. So I'd like to digest that issue as well, and the difference of the funds or the credit. So I think that we should wrap this up and move on to the next item.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the time.
May I, Madam Chair, I apologize, before you move on, would the board like to provide any direction to us as to whether it's okay to divide the financing of the two phases, or whether that's not acceptable? We just need that so we can wrap up a potential agreement. So in other words, for the TIF for phase one be treated separately than the TIF for phase two different agreements, or one agreement that specifically segregates those two together or from each other. So in other words, if they successfully complete phase one south, they start receiving TIF on it. If they don't build north, south continues to exist as TIF.
I think, for me, I think because board chair wants to take some time to digest all of this, and there was another proposal that was put on the floor tonight, that I don't know that we're ready to give you a consensus. I think that the next meeting is in 2 weeks, and hopefully by then, board chair will be in a better, I don't, I
Understood.
want to
No
give.
direction
I
provided.
don't want to give consensus when we don't have everyone on the same page.
What's the worst-case scenario of being caught on the wrong side of 991, HB 991, in terms of, how it could
Well-
hurt us?
Well, so I'm going to answer this with a verbal asterisk in that this is a live bill, meaning it is being amended. We're already operating under a committee substitute that was not the original bill, so I cannot speak to the final language. It could change tomorrow. If the bill as it exists today were to go through, the CRA would be limited from engaging in any future projects as of October 1st, which means that anything put in place before then, appropriately put in place before then, could continue to exist. So does it have to be decided tonight to escape 991? No. If 991 were to pass, it would need to be decided fairly soon. Because there are some machinations on staff side that we would need to do to put in place to secure existing and approved projects.
So what I'm hearing you saying, we do have one more bite at the apple. So,
Yes, in terms of meeting, yes, sir. And again, 991 is live, and there is quite a lot of discussion around whether it will or won't happen, and we certainly can't predict that. Certainly, with your direction tonight, we're going to actively participate in that fight and hopefully take it effect, but we don't know that yet.
Bonnie?
Thank you. So for point of procedure here, when we come back on April 8th, which is great, we'll look forward to that. Should we, I guess, bring in 2 agreements with us, 1 consolidated and 2 separate for phase 1 and 2? Is that our plan? I'm just trying to figure out how much work we have to do between now and then. Is that your preference?
I think that's a good idea, to have the
Okay,
options.
fine. We
Does
will
everyone
do that.
agree?
I mean, we can't give consensus tonight, so if that's your option and that's what you feel comfortable doing, then, I don't.
It's better to be over-prepared with the options than
That's
just have
fine.
the singular one.
Okay, we're ready. We'll be ready.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good, thank you. Now move on to item 15, new business. The first item for discussion and consideration in section 15 is item 15A, the purchase of 135 Northeast 3rd Avenue. Mr. Tack?
Tonight, Teresa Utterbeck will be presenting this item.
Teresa, welcome.
Good evening, Teresa Utterbeck, Development Services Manager. We have a property before you. Oh, there, I wanted to get you acquainted to where it is. It's the blue outlined in the map. And I wanted to show you where it is in conjunction to the new cottage district, which is that larger parcel to the north. We own a piece of property that is adjacent at the back end, which is the little yellow square next to the blue one. So I just wanted to give you a location to get familiar with it. It's being offered at $375,000. I believe the sellers are here tonight in case you have any questions, if they want to come up. Anyways, 375, we had it appraised. The appraisal came in at 500. It's about 0.33 acres. So we have for the backup, there's an average. It's averaging out at about $26 a square foot. And in comparison, the other thing I wanted to let you know is on the appraisal, the other properties, coincidentally, because we are the only ones buying vacant property over there right now, those are all the comparisons on the appraisal are our purchases.
Right.
Yeah, so, but it's within our price range as far as square foot. So it's up for discussion.
Teresa, do we know and Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding was this was listed or they reached out to us with a potential and then we had it appraised and now they're asking for more.
Correct.
What was the original amount that they were wanting to sell it for?
265, I think, was the original listing.
And that was just recently?
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Do you want my comments now? So, I mean, my position is, and this is one of those things where sometimes an appraisal bites us in the, but, I want to work with, we're willing to, sell it, just a short time ago before we had it appraised. I want to work with them, but at the same time, I feel like they're taking advantage of us having it being appraised, and when we're paying for property to acquire for potential use, we're not doing this to make a buck, we're spending a buck. So that's kind of my position on that is, I'm interested in this property, but I also want to be fiscally responsible. We're talking about taxpayer dollars here, and so, I want to make sure that we're being responsible about that. So that's my position on that.
I have a question. When the appraisals are done, are we doing the appraisal or is this the seller doing the appraisal?
Do the appraisals.
Okay. Appraisals are, they're only good as the paper they're on sometimes, and it depends on the appraiser, so I'm shocked it came in at 500 in this market.
Yeah,
But
what am I missing here? That is an up-to-date appraisal,
Well,
right?
Yes, sir. Yes, it absolutely is. It's based on the size and a recent sale right next to it that we did not buy, which I would have liked to have bought. But there's a property right next to it. It would be down from the yellow, there you go, thank you, Vicki.
Right.
So that recently sold, which affected the appraisal with the different comps.
Okay.
And these properties were both in the same condition?
They're vacant. I mean, the smaller piece that just sold recently next to their property has a garage on it that had brought no value to the property. But those properties, just, again, 407 that we own is half its size, and we paid, I'm just putting it in perspective. We paid the same, just a little bit under the same amount of square footage. You know what I mean?
How
See what
long
I'm saying?
ago?
That's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but we bought that one at like $23 a square foot because it's half the size, just for perspective, that's all.
I'm all for this. To me, it's almost like a no-brainer here. What am I missing here? So I just feel, it's a good piece of property. And to go from 500 to 375, I mean, what's the deal? I want to hear some more input here. What am I missing?
No, it's all in perspective, right?
And I think it's also too, as from a seller's side, they're trying to make a deal because it could sit there for a very long time in this market. And, the owner is incurring possibly some maintenance costs, and I'm just speaking from being a real estate broker.
Exactly.
We are in a different market, but I think that could be the incentive to be taking it less than appraisal value.
We purchased that property back in 2020, about 4 years ago.
When we were in the
one that was
boom.
referenced. Yeah.
Yeah, we were at the peak. We're not there anymore.
The seller is here. We're good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Sure.
I don't want to negotiate on the dais,
Okay.
but,
Great.
so I don't have any questions.
I don't either.
Well,
What do you want?
Any public comments on this? Any other public comments?
We would be looking for a motion.
Yeah.
I believe I heard as a possible consensus is to work with the seller and an opportunity to negotiate, lower, closer to the original listing. We would, as staff, look forward to talking with the seller and seeing if that is something that we could possibly come back with some different term.
Agree.
That would be my
That
motion.
would be great.
I would make that motion.
If I could just add
Sure.
one
Please.
thing. Nicholas Haney, agent for the property seller. You know, I think it's an important time, you know, with this property. It was on the market, yes, for less. But, you know, I think the CRA and the city needs to seize the opportunity to grab it before it's gone, like a lot of these other parcels. I mean, the parcels that you guys spoke about before, a lot of those will be gone before you guys get the opportunity to purchase it. So I think, you know, don't be penny foolish when trying to throw an assemblage together like this. I was actually part of the original team that had won the bid for the Cottage District prior to Pulte. And so I know the value of the area. I know the value of the assemblage. So I kind of urge you guys, you know, it's way under appraised value, obviously, and the value is only going to go up once the Cottage District's built and it comes to fruition. So, you know, don't look at today's value, look at when the Cottage District's done, that value, and it will be a lot more,
Yeah.
you know, for this type of product.
Yeah,
So-
I can appreciate that. We're talking about taxpayer money, and I have to be fiscally responsible. So if we can save some money of the taxpayer money for us to use to purchase other properties, then that's our job to do that. So I appreciate your comment, but I stand on my position that if we can negotiate it, I would like to hear back at the next meeting of what we were able to come up with.
We can actually take that direction by consensus and without motion if you prefer, or you may certainly make a motion second and get public comment, your choice.
Consensus.
Okay, I see 4 nodding heads, so I'm going to take it by consensus to move forward in further negotiations and bring you back an agreement next.
Okay, thank you.
Assuming we can reach terms, bring back an agreement next meeting for your approval or rejection.
Thank you.
Catherine.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, board.
Okay.
The next item for discussion and consideration is item 15B, an auditor selection committee for an RFP for auditing services. Mr. Tack?
Ms. Vicki Hill, our finance director,
Okay. Ms.
in
Vicki, come
conjunction
on
with
down.
Janice Rustin with Lewis Longman and Walker, are going to be here to discuss this item.
Me too.
Good evening, Board Chair, Board members. Vicki Hill, the CRA Finance Director. I'm going to punt this to Janice. She is the expert when it comes to auditors. So I'm going to just back up. Thank you.
Good afternoon, good evening, Janice Rustin, Lewis Longman Walker. I work with Kathleen Rossmell on all government matters. I specialize in government contracting and procurement. I do a lot of work assisting the CRA with their procurement matters. The CRA staff reached out to me. They're interested in doing a request for proposal on auditing, financial auditing services. I advised them that the law changed in 2019 regarding how government entities can go about obtaining auditing services. Right now, under the new law, the governing body, board, your board, has to select the auditing selection committee. The auditing selection committee has to be comprised of at least 3 members, one of whom has to be a member of this board. This is different from kind of a typical procurement where the selection committee is typically staff, because they work really closely with the contractor. In this case, staff is not permitted to be part of the audit selection committee. Under Florida law, it has to be at least 1 member of the board and any other of your choosing. Next, the audit selection committee establishes factors for which to, evaluate the proposals that do come in, and that happens at a public meeting. So under this new law, it creates a little bit of administrative challenges because it requires a meeting of this board to select the audit selection committee, then the audit selection committee, then to schedule a public meeting in order to establish factors, and then there's the actual selection that happens at a public meeting, and then the award at the board. So in light of the change of the law, a lot of local governments, smaller local governments, have decided to make their entire board the selection committee and establish factors pretty much at the same meeting, and then once the proposals come in, they do the review and analysis at the same meeting. It sort of makes it a bit more efficient. That being said, we do have other boards that have one member, established one member of the board, and reach out to the community to get either an accountant or somebody with the kind of specialized knowledge on the audit selection committee. So what we're here today to ask for three things. First of all, we're asking you to establish the auditors, the audit selection committee. That's the first step. And so before we move on to the other things, just have questions or how you'd like to proceed.
Board Member Hay, do you have any questions?
Well, I guess my question would be, why just one? Why not all five of us?
Exactly. And this is what a lot of our government boards say. Let the whole board be the audit selection committee, and then we can move forward.
I think in the long run, that would be better, in my opinion.
I've seen it work both ways, and I do agree that when the governing body acts as a selection committee, albeit in a different capacity, like you're a city council, and then you become the CRA board, you become the audit selection committee, you wear different hats. But I see it work much more efficiently when the entire board acts as the selection committee.
That's my position, that's all. That's what I like to see.
Member Cruz?
I agree with that.
All right, so before moving forward to the second ask I have for you, which is establishing the evaluation factors, is there a motion from this board to appoint yourselves as the audit selection committee?
Well,
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so, what is the actual question? Are we?
Motion
the
is a
all in
motion
favor?
to
Yeah, all of
appoint.
us.
the motion.
Motion to appoint the full CRA
Okay.
board as the auditor selection committee. That's the full motion.
Okay. Do we have a motion to select the full committee as the auditor's selection committee?
I believe you have a motion and a second on the table, so you may call the vote when you are ready.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Great.
Motion passes 4-0.
Now, as the Audit Selection Committee, I'm asking you, as the Audit Selection Committee, to approve the evaluation factors. Staff has put together some evaluation factors in your package. They're on the table. They're in a table in the agenda memo. You can take a look at them. What we were recommending, one of the other changes was that price, if you're using price to evaluate as one of the evaluation factors, it cannot be the sole or predominant factor when selecting an auditor. The theory is that they want you to focus more on the qualifications as opposed to price. So for, as part of the evaluation criteria, price is established 30 points, but it will be sort of evaluated separately. It will be evaluated using a formula whereby the lowest price proposal will get full marks, 30, and then it'll reduce incrementally based on the difference between the lowest price and the next highest price. And so what that allows you, the selection committee, to do is to make the selection basically on the technical factors, and then staff will come in with the formula for the price, and that gets a complete, the total value of the evaluation scores. So the next motion would be, any questions about the evaluation factors?
And just one, looks good, but how did you come up with the point spread? Did you just,
I've worked with Mr. Tack, and I provided him some samples from some other districts that we've worked with doing audit requests for proposals, and I provided him some samples, and
We've done, or I have, and well, Janice even more so than me. We've done other different weightings, whether it be through RFQs, and this is kind of a typical. However, in an RFQ, it'd be based upon experience and qualifications as opposed to a contingency for price. But I mean, this is a typical spread that you would be looking at. This can be altered at your discretion, so you're not bound to this. However, as she said, the price is treated a little bit special because they don't want that to be the full consideration.
Attorney
Dominant, so-
Janice, you saying that this is the best practice out there? Would you use that term?
it is a best practice, but I will note that the range, the point spread for price vary. Some go from 10 points because they really want to focus on the qualifications of the auditor, and some are more cost-conscious and they go for 30 points, as long as it's not over 50. So it's really
I would
board
not agree
discretion.
with 10 on a price. That's important. 30 is where I would like to have it stay. But my other colleagues, but that's, okay.
I agree.
So what do you want us to?
Legal, how would that be worded?
So I think, sitting as the auditor selection committee, if you are in agreement, you would be looking for a motion to approve the evaluation criteria as presented.
A motion to approve the evaluation as stated.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Oh, she took it off.
so everyone in favor of the motion to approve the evaluation criteria as, what did you say?
As
As
presented.
presented, I almost said provided, as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
And it is 4-1. Motion approved, 4-1.
4-0.
4-0, I
Oh,
believe.
4-0.
Turkins off, yeah.
He's not even here.
And I believe the final issue to decide is the schedule for procurement, and I believe the staff is hoping to publish the RFP by March 21st, like tomorrow. We've reviewed it, it's legally sufficient. And then with a deadline to submit the proposals by April 25th, that would have the audit selection committee occurring at the May board meeting. And I'll assist staff, give them some, materials that they can use to guide you through the selection process.
Perfect.
So if that schedule.
So we would also be looking for your approval to issue said RFP, as well as the schedule that she stated. And a draft RFP has been provided with those criteria already listed in it, so there would be minimal alteration needed to issue it tomorrow.
Good, Janice.
Moving on.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 15C. Oh,
Madam Board Chair, I believe we are
Oh.
looking for, with your approval, if a motion to approve the schedule and issuance of the RFP as
Motion to
described.
approve the RFP for financial auditing services and the RFP schedule as provided.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was easy. Motion approved.
And Madam Board Chair, I apologize, if you could offer for public comment on these three issues as a whole at this point.
Sure, if we have any public comment, please step up.
Going home.
Seeing none. Close.
None, okay.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now moving on to 15C. Mr. Tack, can you open the item?
Absolutely. At the last, at February 11th meeting during the board's discussion of the fiscal year budget amendment for the unreserved fund balance, the board made a motion to allocate funding for future adaptive reuse of historic properties, especially for 211 East Ocean Avenue. Ocean Avenue, the board directed staff to begin evaluating the current condition of the property and bring it back for further board discussion. We didn't have a real opportunity, and I don't know if you've seen the condition, but we have a limited assessment of the building. And if Vicki, if you could pull that up real quick. As a part of that, they took a look at what they could physically observe, and you're limited because you can't actually see the bones of the structure, if you will. You can crawl in the attic space, you can look at the apparent damage, and you can make an assessment based upon that, what needs to be evaluated and what needs to be immediately addressed. And this is what they did. So this was very limited. It's one of the lesser expensive options as far as getting an assessment. They identified items that need immediate attention. So staff will be looking at contractors to go ahead and address these. The idea there is that you can stop the bleeding, that we can at least safe it up to some ability so that we can minimize the amount of impact environment's having on this building. So we are moving forward with that. We don't anticipate that to exceed our purchasing thresholds in which we would have to publicly solicit bids. However, if it does get to a point, we may have to come back. We may be doing certain portions that make sense together without getting into the weeds on this. But you can see, if you've gone through the photos, you can see that there's damages that need to be addressed, and they need to be addressed in the short in short order. Some things a little bit longer out. But ultimately, as a part of this assessment, they made a recommendation. If you're looking to look at more of the longer term, if you're looking at getting this to the point where it's fit for human occupancy, we need to do a much more comprehensive analysis. And staff is going to be looking at proceeding with this as directed by the board. And that could potentially put us at an RFP scenario. So we don't know that. We will be going out, we will get proposals, we'll see where we're at. And then based upon what we get back, we may have to procure in accordance with our policy or the city's policy that we abide by. So there is a potential. Now, sometimes with those, there's the opportunity, within that, when you start looking at the actual structure, the bones of the structure, you may have to do some altering or maybe even what they consider to be destructive method or an approach, and we're going to do our best to avoid that, but certainly we need to get a structural analysis that's more in-depth than just the physical appearance of it. So we're going to move forward per your direction in that. I wanted to give you an idea of what it is you're looking at, because most people haven't even seen it but from the outside, right? So I want from a staff level to have as much information for you all as we're going through this. And now that we have that funding appropriated for this purpose, we would like to have you as knowledgeable about this as we go through it.
Perfect. May I?
Of course.
Tim, when, my understanding, and just, so, thank you for the update. I'm glad to see pictures and to see what's going on. I'm glad we're moving forward with making those, those repairs now. My understanding is with regard to kind of Andrew's house, Magnuson, this lot, you have a meeting coming up with staff and with other members of the historic Save Our Andrews
We're coordinating with the city.
Right, and
To
so,
effectuate a meeting, yes.
so I just want to make sure that we're, as we're going down the road of making repairs, that we also are cognizant of. I know there was, I went to the charrette for the Andrews house, and I know there was a lot of proposals that if the option and what ends up happening is we move the Andrews house to the same lot, that the Magnuson house may have to shift in order to accommodate it. And so I want to also just be mindful of that as we're looking at costs to make, to have this other more in-depth, evaluation of the building, that we have some answers and some movement as far as what the plan is before we make, before then we get that report that says this is what it's going to cost you, and then now we're having to shift gears a little bit. So I just want to be mindful of that, and I want to just for the members of the public that we are kind of moving in that direction, where we are mindful of the urgency to address Andrews and Magnuson. And I'm thank you for adding this to the agenda tonight so that we can get an update as far as the status of the Magnuson, because it is definitely in disrepair, and this is something that I really pushed to make sure that we were starting to actually get these back up and able to be utilized, because right now it's not usable to anyone. So it's not safe, it's not habitable. It would be condemned if anyone got a hold of it, and it wasn't historic.
Our intent from staff is to keep you apprised as we go through this so that you understand what those dollars look like, and we will be very mindful because we're not exactly sure what
Right, I just
the
don't want to
outcome
put
of everything
money
will
into
be,
something
so.
and then we're going to end up shifting gears and moving
Absolutely.
it and all of that. So, but thank you for adding this, and I'm glad to see we're moving forward with getting Magnuson, Band-Aided up and repaired a bit. So, thank you.
More than Band-Aids on this one.
Yeah, lots of Band-Aids.
I remember going back to 2012 and sitting in the chambers, and there were plenty of RFPs at the time, and that is now 13 years. And it wasn't in good shape then, so I can only imagine what it is now.